Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to the Old Card Shop. We've got a special guest here, EchoBase Collectables, one of our good friends in the hobby, one of my favorite people to talk to. How you doing today, Joe?
Good, man. How's it going?
Doing good. Today we're going to do a slightly different type of video. Now, I usually try to do it's going to be long form talk. It's going to be a long form content, but it's not going to be like an interview. It's going to be us, two whatnot sellers, just discussing the market. I think that there's been a lot of hesitancy lately for people to actually just kind of say what they really feel about what's going on. I don't know. I've been pretty open about the bearishness I've been seeing in the market and my difficulties and struggles lately with being a full-time Pokemon seller. I'm not trying to say the market's bad or anything like that. So anyone who's tuning in right away and gonna thumbs down the video, I'm not shouting doom and gloom. Everything's great. We love Pokemon. The new set Pokemon Go looks freaking amazing. Every day I feel like I'm getting a new reveal from the Pokemon Go set that's comes out that just makes me more excited about it.
Yeah.
Did you see yesterday those pen collections that they came out with? They revealed what the pens are going to
Oh,
be.
now I gotta look
So
at
the
Pokebeach real
three
quick.
three pack boosters that we're going to get are going to be Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle alternate art promos with pins of the Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur, and three Pokemon Go packs. And that's like the three
Stop.
pack. So that's the coolest three pack I could possibly imagine.
Yo.
It's so
Okay.
cute. The pins look
Okay.
great too. The enamel pins.
So I just went to Pokebeach to look at that. And on top of that, did you see the There's a Tyranitar line that was just revealed.
What? No, I didn't.
And
That's
it and it looks, I just saw it right now, and it looks sick. The
the
artwork,
Dragonite. Yeah, yeah. Yesterday, the Dragonite. Did you see the Dragonite V
I
box
saw the
that got?
Dragonite. I saw the
The
Dragonite.
Dragonite V looks so good. Okay, so anyone who's watching, please don't think that it's what you're hearing in this video. If we start ranting and raving about things we're seeing in the market, if it sounds anything like negative, it's not negative. We're just talking candidly. But there is so many things to be excited about right now, for sure, with that Pokemon Go. That being said, the market is not in the same place that it was. Definitely not
No.
just 2 months ago, and certainly not 6 months or a year ago. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that at some
Yeah.
point tonight. And I think
Yep.
you said you want to talk about a couple other things too, Joe, right?
Yeah. So let's see. So I've seen some interesting. So let's talk about PSA and CGC for a few minutes.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
you
but
okay, this is gonna be good. Yeah, I
oh,
agree. Okay, CGC and PSA, it's a good topic.
so I now have equal gripes with both companies. Where this has been an ongoing, evolving thing with me. But it is pretty cool because I literally did. I haven't got a chance to make a video back about it, but I literally did get a PSA return back today, a bulk return from date entered was two. Hang on, I actually pull it up in case anyone's interested about when PSA is returning bulk back now.
Oh,
So
as
this,
if they go first in, first out.
true, but this one was entered on 4/5,
Wow.
4/5. So yeah, they're already up through date entered now, not date arrived. Date entered 4/5. So they are moving. I know that they did 250,000. And then they also have recently dropped their bulk submission fees to 30 for bulk submitters.
Mhm.
And I have never utilized the middleman service, but I may jump on that. I may jump on that.
You don't need to. As of
Uh,
today, Thursday. Oh wait, is today Wednesday? I think today's Wednesday actually. So tomorrow they're opening it up for Collectors Club, so you don't need a middleman for the $30 submission.
really,
Yeah, so
just
this is news
straight
for anyone
opening it.
watching. Yeah, this is announced yesterday, I believe. So on the Tuesday, they made the announcement for $30 for the middleman. I believe it was Monday was the big announcement for that. Tuesday, it came out. It sort of slowly came out that you could actually also this Thursday submit through collector's tier 20 cards for $30. And specifically, the caveat was it would be a 120-day business day turnaround, and it wouldn't start being graded until the entire backlog was dealt with. And so
Okay,
that was the
that's
caveat
fair.
behind the $30, which I don't know if that was something people were aware of, but it did say that was like the fine print.
I was not aware of that fine print. That is, I think that's perfect. I think that's fair and great. I mean, they're going to have something in the backlog. So what I think I think Retro Hoops was actually going over this because being a sports guy, there are a lot of PSA set registry collectors, and this is probably more. So we all forget that as a Pokemon in the Pokemon hobby with PSA, we are peanuts compared to sports. We are not Sports
Yes and
guys,
no. That is what it used to be, but now the TCG percentage is far and away greater than any of the other sports percentages lately.
even with the higher tiers.
With the higher tiers, everything. If you look at their monthly, you know, the PSA puts out their monthly, like this is the percentage of everything that we've graded this
Right.
month.
The video, yeah.
TCGs were far and away the greatest percentage of anything they graded. They even doubled that of basketball, which was the second highest amount of cards graded. So that includes all TCGs, though.
Right, but that's including the backlog.
I believe. Oh, so you mean yes? So I believe, as far
Right.
as that's concerned, that's still including the backlog. Yes.
So I traditionally PSA has their target demographic for the bulk tiers is vintage. It's sports collectors wanting to complete registry sets. And I honestly think that the higher ups at PSA care more about sports card grading than they do TCG grading. And I would imagine that they are getting a lot of flack from from big sports time dealers about the need to reopen lower grades for this. So it doesn't surprise, like, people out there are like, oh, it'll never be $10. It'll never be $15 again. No, it will be. No, it will be. It has to be, because there's sports card collectors out there that want to complete set registries that are not, but with the caveat being they're going to probably lower the value of the cards that are allowed to be submitted at that level, and rightfully so, I think. And they're probably just going to keep a better eye on, maybe with their integrated AI technology, they'll have an easier, faster time of being able to easily identify the value just by a picture of the card of what the going price is for the card, and upcharges won't be, less things will get through upcharge. So I have a feeling that that's probably their plan, is to reopen these tiers. And it's kind of funny because back when the flood happened and they shut down, I remember one of the first videos I ever made, it was one of my ideas. I was like, why don't they just limit the amount of cards per account? Like, just limit it to 20 a month or something. Like, and look, here we are. They're reopening 30 with the limit of 20 a month. Like, oh, ding, ding, ding. It took you guys a year and a half to figure that one out. Okay.
Yeah, it
Congrats.
only took them 2 years of CGC getting a third of the total market share of their Pokemon.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a smart move on PSA. They let another company come up and just catch up on the year. So this is a good time to bring CGC into the equation. So with PSA opening that $30 tier, CGC is still comfortably sitting at about 13 to 50. I mean, $15 a card for bulk, and then it gets down to $13.50 if you submit, you know, with the higher elite tier or whatever. So for the layman, we'll say $15 a card. At the rate that PSA is reducing their costs, it's almost to the point where you have a decision to make, right? You have a decision as a collector to make, whether or not, it's not just strictly a value decision like you would have made like a year ago. People would have said, oh, you send a PSA for value, you send a CGC
Right.
if you just want to, you know, send it quickly. Now you have an option. And I'm curious if that's going to mean that CGC is going to start getting more competitive with their prices and lower
So
their prices a little bit.
interesting you say that. There was an announcement from CGC, and I don't remember if it was on Instagram or where. Oh, I think it was maybe an email. I saw a clip. Somebody clipped it. I think I saw it on Instagram. Somebody reposted it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the email did not say they were going to lower prices.
Mm-hmm.
What it actually could be construed to be read as was they are going to raise prices.
Well, they did raise prices on their subgrades and also on a couple other tiers. That was recently, that's something they did. So that might be what you're referring to.
How soon? How recently?
Just recently, as in this last week or so, they released a press. I think it was like a press or an Instagram post where, like you're saying, I think it may be what you're referencing, because I think I got the same thing.
Yeah.
And yes, the cost of grading per card didn't go down, but the cost of some of the additional tiers, and they messed with the values as well. So like, the bulk was a little bit lowered, I believe. So the bulk value had to be a little bit lower when you sent through bulk. So their prices for cards aren't changing, but their prices are going up in other departments, which I find to be an odd take.
Yeah, that's an odd
really
take.
Bullish of CGC, because that's like them saying like, no, I think people will want us over PSA given the same price point. And at this point, I don't think it's quite there yet. I'm probably one of the biggest CGC shills right now on YouTube, only because they've been treating me well. They've been
Yeah.
taking me out to nice dinners. They've been, they've been picking up the bill. I've just been taking the tip. I've been getting the tip, and they've been taking the whole bill. I don't know when they're gonna start making me pay, but I know the bill is gonna start coming soon. So I am right now very happy with CGC because they've been giving me lots of tens, lots of perfects, lots of
Wow.
pristines, of very nice
Nice.
cards. And I've very quickly become and come to realize the types of cards to send to CGC. And so
Okay,
I do
so
think that in the past, maybe they were they were grading a little bit more difficultly, and they were B, possibly people were sending the wrong types of cards because we didn't know exactly what to expect. Because I know I've sent a large bulk submission to CGC. It was 100 and something cards in the when it was still $7 a card to submit for bulk. And that was like way back in the pandemic, but I got a slew of 8.5s on modern cards that I would have deemed pretty pristine. And I never looked at CGC again for probably a year and a half after that. So here we are now, and I've submitted
right.
more to them in the last month than I've ever submitted in my entire life of any other grading company. And I honestly I can see myself continuing to do so until PSA lowers that price down to $20 or less. Because still at $15 more above the cost of grading for something like a modern Zacian card, a gold
Right.
Zacian card. Let's be real. If you grade this at PSA and you put this on eBay or you put it on whatnot and you sell this as a PSA 10, I think you can get it for about 60 or 70 bucks. I honestly believe it'll cost it will literally probably go for 60 to $70, which is probably what it should go for. It's a brand new modern card. It's meant PSA grades 10s like nothing, but it costs you $30 to submit that card right now at the cheapest point in 2 years that you've been able to submit. Well, not 2 years,
Right.
I'm sorry, about a year since they've been closed down. It's been $30. This is the cheapest you've been able to submit, and you may not get that card back for another year or so. Maybe not a year, but maybe several months down the road, because this is a cheap 120-day turnaround where it requires a backlog. So with CGC, for me to submit this card for $13.50 and get a pristine 10 on it. Now, you might not, if you get a 9 on this, you're probably going to take a bath on it. But imagine getting a 9 at PSA on this card. You're going to take a bath on it even harder. So I do honestly believe there are plays to be made within CGC with the lower costs being as low as it is, even though it is still more expensive,
It's
with
just,
modern cards that are deemed immaculate. Now, if you do hit a 9 or an 8.5, you're going to take a lot of a bath, I think, because people won't even. I see
yeah,
you'd be better off selling a raw card, right?
you would, yes, that's true too. In some contexts.
In
So
some, yes, very much so. And like
I'm sure.
we're whatnot sellers. And so a lot of
Right.
people who are watching this stream, a lot of people on the YouTube sphere may have the perception that like slabs and junk slabs do really, really well on whatnot. I'd love to talk about that just a little bit, just as a perspective
Yeah, they
piece,
do.
because they do all right on
They
whatnot,
do. They do.
but
And it's,
but it's
um,
certainly not an end all. Like
no,
it's
it's
not an
not an
end
end all.
all.
No. Um, and eBay has its use for that too. But, what was I going to say? So I quickly looked up, Moonbryon real fast to use as a case example. There are no sold listings for CGC 10. There's 9.5s, but apparently no one's sold a 10 yet. Um, so pulling the 9.5 on a Moonbryon will net you best offer accepted. Nothing around somewhere between 480 and 500.
Wow, that's higher than expected on a 9.5. I literally just pulled a 9.5 and graded one on my stream the other day, like less than 2 weeks ago.
But see, now had you sent that to PSA and got the 10, it's a $700 card.
Yeah, and so
So
you had to
even
send
if
it at $50 and you still wouldn't have it back yet, probably. Depending on when
probably
you
not,
sent it. Depending if you sent it right away at the $50
right?
lottery tier, you'd probably have it back.
But
But
you
that
would,
would have been a while ago, and that's when Evolving Skies was closer to
I
$200
guess
listed
I'm
odds.
just still jaded from CGC. See, I graded 5,000 cards with CGC.
I
And
remember.
I got all those back before they made their damn grading change decisions. So
Yeah.
I hear everyone getting all these 10s now, but I am so jaded that I will not send any more of my vintage cards there. I can promise you that. Now modern It's interesting. I've been considering trying to send some plays to modern, but I don't own a lot of modern to start. I do have an alt art set. I have one of every alt art, but I don't want to sell those. I want to keep those right now. So I don't really, I personally collect PSA for long-term valuability. So I don't really care if I have to wait for $10 to send my alt art collection, $20 to PSA, because I'm not flipping those.
Mhm.
I don't personally flip a lot of modern cards. Now if I were, I don't, you have built up much better distribution access than I have as to this point. Very, very well earned. But like for instance, those VMAX cards, I would have loved to gotten a ton of those. I didn't get any. I didn't get a single box.
Yeah, and I got
And
24 of them. So I got 6 cases, which is a lot.
yeah,
Like a
that's a
normal
lot.
person's like 6 cases of those EVs. No wonder you got a 10. But you have to understand also, I opened 4 of the 6 cases, specifically ripping for the promos, just for the
Yeah.
promos and packs, and also to try to look for a good one. And out of all, how many is that? 4 times 6. So 24
24,
divided by 3. And so, 12.
8.
Yeah, so 8. Yeah, so there's roughly 8 chances each time, or 9 chances each time, or so, depending on. I opened a few extras here that I got at retail to try to look for them. I'd see them at $50, and once I got my allocation, I would then go and buy them at Target because I knew how hard they'd be able to get if I ever
Yeah,
saw them. I did see them 2 or 3 times on the shelf.
never seen them.
So I do think that people got a chance to buy those, and there were a lot of them made, but I don't think they ever got a reprint really, because there weren't ever more of them put out really. And
And
so yeah,
those,
so out of that many chances though, out of maybe 8 or 9 of each different V and VMAX, I got one single 10. I sent probably only 7 of them total out of all of them. So I didn't even get a full set that I thought were worthy of sending. They all have little white dots. They all have little dings because of the way they're packaged, the way
wow,
that they
yeah.
move around, or scratches on the back. It's off-centered, whatever it is. I only sent to CGC though, so I was strictly looking for pristine 10s because
Sure.
for $50, which is the lowest cost that PSA would be, to send, I don't think those cards would be worth it. I was seeing them selling for closer to $200 at the time.
Right.
But I was imagining the market coming down because those are people who are sending at the $100 tier. So
Right.
like, it's very much so a play. You really have to do that mental math about the
And
card. And it has to be something that's like really worth it. And in the
yes,
case of CGC, what I've learned is, first of all, it sucks. Like the old grading standard and the new grading standard, they will never, ever admit it. But
no,
here's
they
what
won't, but
happened.
it's,
Yeah, the CSG announcement came out 1 week
mhm,
before Chum Lee did a booster box break with the head grader, this
I remember that.
infamous booster box jungle break with the head grader of CGC. CGC's head grader graded some perfect 10s right there next to it, and it ruffled a lot of feathers. Not only was that a unbiased grading situation, it was a celebrity being what seemed to be given somewhat special treatment. And some people would say, oh, well, no, the grader just literally, you didn't have to ship the cards. It was just handed straight to him out of the box. There was no way it couldn't be a perfect card.
Oh,
And so
it
that's
can be.
why, and so that's putting all the blame on USPS and shipping the card for why you got a slew of 8.5s, but Chumley could get these perfect 10s out of his first pack he ever ripped. So there was that week. It was 1 week to the date, basically, after the CSG sports announcement, where they lowered their tier or they lowered it so that their 9.5s would be graded as 10s. Did you hear about that
Oh
announcement
yeah,
that they made?
yes, the
Yeah.
CSG announcement. Oh yeah,
That's
because
their sports. They have
I
a
know,
sports
yeah,
company as well. For anyone watching,
yep.
CSG is owned by CGC. They also own a coin grading company and all kinds of other collectors companies. But they recently, in the announcements, they actually said that they were going to change their grading standards, and
Not
they
only
made it
that,
easier to get
but
10s.
you could reholder your 9.5s automatically to 10s for free.
Yeah, and
You
so
could
for one
send your
day on eBay,
9.5s.
everyone was buying 9.5s
Yep,
as quick
yep,
as they could of everything
yeah.
CSG just to go and reholder as a 10. So
I think
that was a
even
play for one day. And then
PK bought a lot too. I think he bought a good handful of them too. I
he's
remember
a
him
smart man for
talking
that.
about it.
I was a
Yeah,
day
I
late.
agree.
I was a day late and $1 short
Yeah,
on that one. So
I didn't think about it till he mentioned it, and I was like, shit, we're probably late on that one. Yep.
yeah, so okay, so 1 week to the date, they did a big celebrity jungle booster box break. And in that booster box break, they graded 1,000,000 tens. This was like not a million, it's many tens.
Bunch.
It's too many
Right.
than what people were used to seeing, but it was a very public break, right? In that same week, shout out to Going Twice right now. Travis, you're going to come on this channel. We're going to have a great talk. I love you to pieces, but I do believe CGC used Going Twice and their platform to their advantage, because during the same week as Chumley's box break, Going Twice, the largest Pokemon and probably one of the largest sports streamers on the Whatnot streaming platform, partnered with CGC. They were previously partnered with DSG, which was a lower tiered sort of not lower tier. Shout out to DSG. I mean, you do a great job. I do know the company. I think out of the smaller grading companies, they do one of the better jobs in the business. But for a long time, all of the cards that Going Twice would pull, rip, anything they sold on their channel was pretty much, unless it was the few big PSA cards, it was mostly DSG because they had a partnership with them. Well, I don't know if it's a public partnership, but immediately after the Chumley box break, I saw Going Twice switch to CGC, and now they only submit to CGC, and they're sending thousands upon thousands of cards on the weekly, I'm sure, to CGC. I guarantee, and this is not tinfoil hat, Travis, the owner of Going Twice, a good friend of mine and the channel's, had gone to Florida, went through this facility, had sat down with the head graders, sat down with everyone. They know exactly who he is. And they also know the platform he has and the amount of people that see the cards that get graded by him. And so if what they did, if they could just make one little shift, if they could start grading their cards just a little bit softer, in line with what the market liked, and at the same time, make a marketing decision and have these two big things that they do, these two partnerships. And I'm sure they did other things that I'm not noticing. This is just what I'm noticing, you know, as someone who's like a fly on the wall. And so they make a partnership, and then they lower their grading, and they send 1,000,000 people start sending cards to them to try them out. Hi, I'm one of those 1,000,000 people. You know what I did? The second that I started seeing all these tens coming out of CGC, I sent 50 cards to CGC because I had to see for myself. Because if it's true,
how many tens did you pull out of 50?
26%, 11
Wow.
tens. My first submission to them was my mintiest cards because I really, really wanted to give them an honest to Arceus try. I thought if I was going to do this, I'm going to literally give the mintiest modern pack fresh cards I could possibly find. I will tell you, Joe, I scoured with a fine-tooth comb 50 of my best modern pack fresh cards. And I'm only talking modern, this first one, because I wasn't quite ready to send them any vintage. Like you said earlier, I do not trust them with vintage. But we'll get into that, I think, a little bit later, because there are some vintage plays, I believe, still in that too. And I sent them, I got 26%, 11 tens, all pristines on these modern cards. And everyone watching, you're like, oh, that's luck of the draw. That's just one time. That's fun. Anyone, that's just whatever it is. That might be true. I sent another submission quickly after I got that one back because I was like, wow. And that next submission, 11%. 11% pristine, and 2 of them being perfects. And this is my second tier of cards after I sent my best ones in, mind you. So, and like one of them is vintage. One of them was vintage. Now it's one of these.
Wow. I saw that as you were rifling through that that caught my eye.
Yeah, and so like okay. So like tinfoil hat. I believe that they made these shifts consciously, and I believe that all of them were made to be in line with what the market wanted, but at the same time, they made them in a sneaky way, in such a way that they didn't have to go out and outwardly say that they were lowering their standards. So that it didn't lower that perception.
They probably talked about that in the boardroom. Like, what's the upside and downside of actually coming out with a public statement with this? And I know that there would have been people with pitchforks and torches had they publicly announced that they're lowering their grading standards. But if they just kind of slip it in slowly and hope no one notices, everyone's happy in the end, right? Oh yeah, it's a total decision that was made on their behalf.
Yeah. So with that knowledge, okay, I also understand being slaughtered by sending, as many cards as you did and having that, that feeling. But it is just very weird to me that CGC suddenly, as the pop report comes out, it was also, and this is right before the population. So that story,
True.
the CGC is grading, that started happening before, about 1 week before the pop report.
Right. And the theory is that to help boost the pop tens so that when the pop report came out, it didn't look like there was one or two in the entire population.
Yeah, and so there is a tinfoil hat theory to align with when the population report was released, as far as when they started giving slightly more tens.
Right.
And to be honest, as a business decision, like you see the market slowing down. You're a collectibles company. You just went through the biggest boom you've ever seen in a trading card or sports card or collectibles market in the world, the history of the world. And suddenly you hired 50 new people. You made a whole new facility, everything. You did all this new stuff. You raise your prices, you raise the cost of everything. You did all these new things, implement new technologies. Wow, the market just crashed. What the hell? Everyone stopped submitting, and then your
turnaround times are
your competition. Then they reopen. Your biggest competition, PSA, who for 2 years they didn't have any competition. There was literally CGC or BG who? Like you mean the boomer grading service, BGS? Yeah. Okay, I forgot about BGS. We don't even need to talk about them. They're a non-existent company at this point. They could just, whatever. But
it's true.
But yeah, I do think that it was a business decision. And I think it was a decision that not only is going to help them, because you got people like me who are just like wanting to give it a try, where it's like, you know what? I can either wait for 6 months and potentially wait for PSA to open, and then what's going to be with the market in 6 months, or maybe ride the wave and try to see about those CGC 10s. And maybe they're not. Maybe it is that they have a couple bad graders right now, and you're getting lucky. A few people are getting lucky with 10s, but who knows if that'll change, because they never have said that they're lowered their standards. So as far as like the CGC versus PSA goes, I 100% think that every single grading company is garbage, trash, corrupt market manipulators who do not deserve to be in the position that they are, gatekeeping the hobby like they are. That being said, we use them all. We quote their prices, and they exist. So where do we go from here?
So, couple things. I actually didn't get to tell you my PSA story.
Oh, you said before the stream that you're in something with PSA. That's right. So you got beef with all of them. Well, except for the BGS, but I mean,
which I'll never use.
Who uses BGS? Like you have to submit with the Pony Express with them.
Yeah, with their grandma 1990s AOL dial-up website. So here's what happened. So I recently did a 20 card send-off video for Express service.
The $50?
Yeah, I picked 20 cards and sent them at 50. Most of them were Legendary Collection reverse foils. Picked out really good ones. Most of mine they're binder kept, so they all mostly look the same. And then I decided, and I stared, they used to be right there on my display. And I stared at these two cards with my damn heart in my throat, not wanting to let them go because they mean that much to me. I sent off my Pop Series 5 Umbreon and Espeon with the logic. I even said it in the video. I was like, look, guys, I need to get these two cards in a case. I know I'm going to get upcharged on them. Like I analyzed the two cards and I was like, look, these are 9s, maybe 10s. These are 9s, maybe 10s. And I know I'm going to get upcharged, and I don't really want to eat the $150 just to have something sit behind me on a shelf, considering they were already in like card saver ones. They're not going anywhere. They're not in any real risk of being damaged. But I was like, I do kind of want to know what the official grades are, and I do want to protect them, like for real protect them. So I was like, whatever, I'll include them in this submission. So I get my email that I've been upcharged, that I have to prove my upcharges. So I'm like, oh, okay, giddy. Let's see. And I do hate it because I did want to do a reveal video when I got the return back, and it's so hard to do that when you have to prove the upcharges.
No, I can't do those. I always see the grades beforehand. I can't do it. I don't have the self-control. You're a better man than I if you can.
I've only done one like that. Usually I don't have self-control. Usually I do look. This is one that I legit wanted to be surprised about, but I even went like this to try and like approve the charges, but I didn't get it right. I already saw some, so I was like, screw it. Let me look at them all. So I'm going through line by line, 20 cards. I did one hollow foil Charizard, right? One regular hollow foil Charizard that pulled the 9.
Of the base set, just a base set Charizard.
No, it was a legendary
Oh,
collection.
that's right. You
Charizard.
said all legendary collection.
All legendary except for the 2 pop
Right.
series.
Right.
So then of the remaining, because there were 2, so 17 of the remaining 17 legendary collection reverse foils, most of them pulled a 9. I think I got 3 10s
Woo!
and
Which
1 8.
10s?
I got an Alakazam, a Dragonite, Dark Dragonite, and the Telekinesis Mewtwo.
Oh, the Mewtwo is the best card in the set. The Telekinesis Mewtwo with the Christopher Rush.
Yep, I know. That's the one I was hoping for. Yeah. I also sent the Dark Vaporeon because a lot of people don't remember this. The Dark Vaporeon.
Non-hollow, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, but the one in Legendary Collection is a hollow.
Yeah.
It's the only place to get that hollow card.
I love that hollow.
I love that hollow.
There's also a Dark Persian or Giovanni's, or it's a Dark Persian.
Dark Persian. Yep, there's a Dark Persian. Yep, yep, exactly. Legendary Collection's a great set. Yeah.
Legendary Collection's a much it used to be underrated. Now it's I believe overrated, but it's a good set. Yeah, I agree.
It's a good set. Yeah. So, and it's always been a personal favorite of mine. So then I get down to the Pop Series cards, and I'm looking, and first thing I see, Pop Series Umbreon. Got the 9. I was like, nice.
I like the Espeon, I think, a little bit better than Umbreon. This is a hot take, but I've always liked the shiny Espeon better than shiny Umbreon. Personally, I like the green.
All right.
You know?
Sure. And then I look at the Umbreon, and my heart fucking sank because it got
Umbreon.
No, I'm sorry, the Espeon.
Oh, okay. Oh, what?
It got a 3.
What?
Exactly. And I stared at the screen and I'm like, all right, what? I was like, my first thought wasn't fuck you, PSA. My first honest to God thought was maybe I missed something. Yeah, I'll be honest. That was my first thought. Maybe I missed, because here's what happened recently. I got a return back with a, I graded another express order with some card-ass Charizards in it and checklist cards. Mm-hmm. And 2 of those got lower than I thought. They pulled 5s. And I looked at the back of the card and there was a little crease.
Yeah, those are easy to miss. Those are extremely easy to miss on those old card-ass cards.
But a 3. This is the more, I sat with this. I sat with this for a day.
What was wrong with it? Can you see it?
So here's the deal. No, here's the deal. So I replied to the dude and I was like, yeah, charges are approved. Just get it back to me. And then I was over my fiance's that weekend. And the more I remember sitting there in the bathroom thinking about this, and I was like, no fucking way. And I replied to the guy. I was like, you know what? On second thought, I'm fighting this. I was like, dude, I have a send-off video of these 2 cards. I want you to check this out. Like, pull this card, because either one of 2 things happened. You didn't grade my card, you graded someone else's card, or you guys damaged it. So he's like, okay, I'm not gonna say who it is. He's like, okay, I'll pull it out of the QC process. We'll double check it. He gets back. That's
nice of them to be working with you, though. That's actually pretty good customer support up until this point.
Until this point, absolutely. Yeah. So he gets back to me same day, and says the reason your card got a 3 is because there's and his words, a giant crease down the middle of it.
You're like, wait, what do you mean a giant crease?
That's the point where I was like, all right, I call bullshit. That's not my card. Either you did it or that's not my card. It wasn't even possible to have done in shipping because those 2 I put right in the middle of the stack.
Yeah, so it would have been the whole stack.
It would have been the whole stack.
Yeah.
You're telling me every other card in the order got a 9 or an 8 and a 10. The one in the middle got a 3. Nah, bro, y'all fucked my card up when you reholded it, or someone did something. So I replied back, and here's the thing: I reached out on our Discord, and I told everyone what happened, and I asked for help. And somebody suggested I reach out to Rusty at TCA Gaming, so I did. And he gave me the contacts of 2 higher ups at PSA.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's helpful.
I now have them on this email chain, and I have this over to customer relations or whoever. And I have now sent them 5 follow-up emails, and I even called them today, and they're not getting back to me on this at all.
How long has it been so far since the last time you heard?
A week and a half.
A week and a half?
About a week. It was the last email I heard back from them was Monday or Tuesday of last week. Was the last email I got from them.
Okay, so it's still within the time that I think you could probably hear from them probably this week, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine, but I'm not holding my breath. And
hell no. Yeah. They're gonna do everything they can to wiggle out of it. They're literally just biding their time, hoping you can
I
cool off
sent
a little
them.
bit enough so that when they get to you and tell you the disappointing news, that you're just gonna like roll over and take it. They're gonna give it the, oh, we got you to the upper management, and then tell you the
TCA's
same old shtick. Yeah.
TCA suggested I bring it to Rattle, and I just I might, if he's interested, wants to make a video, because this is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Like, I have the send off video of, I sent them screenshots and the YouTube link. I'm like, this is the card I sent you guys. This is it right here.
So someone recently also told, I think I was talking to someone, they said that they sent a card in, and when they got it back, it got downgraded because it had a slit through the top of the card, like a box cutter almost. And it was also the top card of their submission. And so they obviously, it seems like that whoever was box cutting the submission open, they might have damaged it. They got a little overzealous with it. And maybe the person who packed that submission, I don't remember who it was. Even if I did, I don't want to throw out their name or anything and shame them, but maybe they didn't pack it all the way. So like there are times when I can imagine that, like, you know, unpacking orders, especially if, for example, you're a company that's trying to save as much on labor as you can, like PSA, and you're in PSA and you're in California and labor is expensive. I wonder if they own all of the right, if the people who work in their shipping warehouses, if they work for PSA or if they're contracted out through like a, you know, a secondhand company potentially. And so they don't get paid enough to care about the cards they're unpacking, you know? And so
maybe
I'm curious about that type of thing too. So there are legitimately chances that I think the Kings would
there's
damage.
many chances it could get damaged along
yeah, but
the way.
for your case though, it seems more like it would be more likely that as they were taking it out to grade it, it could have potentially
they crimped it. And the guy didn't speak up about it at all, which I find interesting because I did just get a return back of a bunch of, I graded my oldest bulk submission came back. I graded, it was 160 cards. I graded Legendary Collection, Charmanders, Squirtles, Pikachus. I got like 30 10s back, 40 10s. So I got a bunch of 10s. But I did get an email on that return from customer relations saying, hey, we effed up. We bent one of your Charmanders in the grading. Here's a $70 credit.
Oh, that's nice. So they owned up to it, but that's a $70.
They owned up to that one. That's $70.
Bucks. That's not an Espeon Pop Series. That's not $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000, you know.
And I even told the guy on the phone, I was like, listen, dude, I know this isn't your fault, but if you would have bet any other card other than the Umbreon in that order, I would not be as pissed as I am right now. I wanted those two cards next to each other in relatively the same grade forever. Like now I'm like, dude, now I got to go buy another one. If I want
crack it out or crack the Umbreon and have them both raw, in which case that's even worse because it got, I mean, the Umbreon got a 9?
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. Congratulations on that 9.
Thanks.
Though. That's huge.
It is big, but I was never going to sell it. Like,
no, Yeah, I do think that it's an issue that I think would be worth at least seeing what the higher ups say. And I do think it's an issue that other people have had. You're not the first person who's told me. You're just one of the first people that I've talked to on my platform who's told me, who also has a platform and has other friends with platforms. So it may be beneficial to the community for that to be highlighted rather than like, oh, you know, just one of my orders and they mess up.
Because that's
that's happening over and over. It's something that should be addressed. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was thinking is, okay, because I even dropped that worm, that earworm on the phone. I was like, listen, I have a YouTube channel and I know people with a lot bigger channels than myself. And I would really appreciate if you guys did the right thing here. I'm not going to say or else, but you know, I'm not letting this go is what I said. And I have the ability to make videos about it and talk to people about it. What about all the little men that don't? What about all the little guys that get screwed? You know,
the reason why we make videos is for transparency, for our own like transparency, and also for entertainment for our viewers, but also so that if something happens, we have video footage. It's everyone can see. So exactly. It's not like you're trying to, there's video footage.
And you know what I'm waiting for them to get back to me and say? I'm waiting for the email. Well, we thank you for your YouTube video, but there's no way for you to prove that that's the card you put in the box. That's what I'm waiting for them to say.
I don't even think they need to go there. I don't even think the company would need to go there. That's like the super low route that I don't even think PSA would go that route. Like, even to save themselves the money. It's no need, you know? That would be hilarious. That would just be like, who is doing your replying to these emails?
Right. So you're calling me a liar. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
like
You're calling your customer a
a,
liar.
a
Who's
paying
a
customer that
paying
just gave you
customer.
how much money? Like what?
Right. Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And I
Yeah.
have what, another 3,000 cards sitting in your grading service. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Nope. I do think that the grading companies, and you and I have talked about this before, and you're binder collectors, so I think you probably agree with me and for the most part, but I do think the grading companies are just far and away big gatekeepers in the
Well,
hobby.
yeah, and I would agree with you, but that's actually a good transition to the other thing I've been dealing with recently, and that's eBay.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know how to list my stuff more accurately with more pictures. And yet I still have people going, that's not near mint. I want to return. That's not near mint. That's not near mint. I want to return. Or I'll say light play. And they're like, that's not really light play. I don't want that one. And that is one thing that our graders do for us. I said do for us is they provide in a third party objective opinion on the grade. And one great thing, and I'm all for it. Christ, I wish eBay would start to send raw cards in at a lower value for review. I am so tired of dealing with and so I've been an eBay seller since I think I have the record of anyone I've heard every time I call in, they congratulate me for 20 years of loyal service. So 2004 was when I opened my eBay account, or yeah, 2004, or wait, no, 2002, because we're in 2022. So 2002. So I have dealt with more returns in the last month than I have in the last, I don't know, a year. Like,
Can I
I
say
don't know.
something that's going to be controversial, Joe? That a lot of the
Yes.
audience is going to be like, shock Pikachu face that
Well,
you
I
dislike the
love that.
video right now. Pokemon card buyers are the fucking worst.
I found a
I'm
worse group.
so sorry. I'm a Pokemon buyer myself, and I can be the worst. But there's a reason why I don't sell raw cards on eBay, Facebook, Instagram, on any platform where pictures are involved. You know the one platform I sell raw cards on?
Whatnot.
TCG Player, actually. I don't
Oh,
even sell raw
TCG
cards
player.
on Whatnot. That's the
Oh,
funny. I don't even sell, but if I did, it would probably be Whatnot because you're at least you see it
showing people.
in
Right.
real time, every
Right.
little thing, and you're
Everyone
like,
sees
this is
right.
final. You see what you're buying, and
Yep.
so
I've
there's
had
at
one.
least that. That is a
I've
huge benefit to
TCG player's a good
anyone out
idea.
there who likes to throw shade at these online like live auction platforms where you're buying singles. Look, if you're a picky freaking buyer, if you have ever sent a card back ever for return when buying it raw on eBay, on TCG Player, on Facebook, on Instagram, do not, just do not buy raw cards. Go and buy on these,
I
go buy overpriced raw cards on
Yeah,
live auction platforms where you pay a little bit extra for it because
agree. Absolutely
you
agree.
the exact card.
Yeah.
Then you can be the worst. You can be as picky and nitpicky as you want with those types of situations.
I run a single stream every week. It's actually what I'm starting to become more known for. Obviously, with this, I have a lot to pull from.
Your singles
So,
are the best singles ever. Everyone
oh,
who's
dude,
watching
thanks.
this
I didn't know
needs
that.
to tune into your singles stream because you sell the best singles on Whatnot. I'm not even shilling, not because you're my friend. I'm shilling because you have good cards.
Thanks, man. It's getting to the point where I've been trying to source collections to bring to Whatnot too, and I'll be honest, like I feel bad sometimes selling some that aren't mine that I've sourced, but I do make it a point to tell everyone, like, look, like I'll throw them in a lot, like 3 hollows in a lot. Like these two are damaged, guys. This one's PSA 7 to 8 range. These two are damaged. You guys are bidding on what you're bidding on. Know what you're bidding on. Here's the 3 cards.
Mhm.
Or like, like I always try. So like it's interesting. And this is one thing I made this analogy in one of my other recent videos. You know what Whatnot feels like to me? It feels like the closest I've ever come to running a virtual local hobby store, local hobby
Mhm.
gaming store.
That's always
You
how yeah, that exactly. That exact thing. Yeah. Yep.
like you start to know your customers that come in on Saturday to buy the booster packs from you
Your
or to buy
regulars.
your singles. You know your regulars.
Mhm.
And that is how I feel with it. That is why I love it. I freaking love Whatnot. I pump so much. So I still have my full-time job, and I'm up to at least 5 streams a week,
Whew,
3-hour streams a week on
whew,
top of that.
sheesh.
Um, but I don't like, yes, it's extremely difficult that, and it's why I've been making less YouTube videos recently. And I haven't been in the discords or doing as many lives because it's really on top of personal stuff. It's been consuming like a lot of my free time, but I do love it though. Like I, I tell people, I said this once before, I craft that single stream and I do it based off of every time I get people in, like, do you have any Gengars? Do you have any Dragonites? I'm a Dragonite collector. I'm a Squirtle collector.
Mhm.
So I will go out and hunt down the like top 15 species that I know my audience likes. And I get excited when I'm like, yo, guys, I have 5 Rayquazas to bring to you guys. It's like on like Friday or Saturday, whenever it is.
Yep.
Like I'll bring them, like I'll go get like VS cards or like tops cards that I know they don't have, or card ass cards that I know that these guys don't go out and like normally get, or vending cards because I know I can get a lot of that stuff. And I get excited when it's like, oh, I got a Karen's Umbreon to bring today, or like something like that. Like it's fun,
Yeah.
but um yeah, it is. And I've only ever had one person complain about the quality or want to return, maybe two out of all the singles I've sold, and I've honored it. Like it's no problem. But
I haven't had
the
returns, but I have had people who have asked to cancel because of
oh
overspending
yeah,
reasons, or
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
yeah, and I always honor those
Oh, for sure.
unless the reason is so lazy or so blatantly disrespectful. Like it's literally, hey, I didn't like what I got. I want to
Right.
cancel that pack opening. If it's
Exactly.
a
I
single,
had
it's one thing because it's like, okay, it's just
sure.
a single, you're bidding. But when you're opening product and someone literally gives the reason that they didn't like, and this isn't a meme, this is a real thing that happens. I'm not gonna dox anyone who does it ever. I won't ever call anyone out who does that, but it's a real thing that happens, is that people will literally, not often, I probably had 3 or 4 of these in 10,000 sales, but they'll message and say, hey, I didn't like my pulls, can I refund? And I'll be, it's a weird thing for me to have to say, I
No,
know, like that's not a
you
legitimate
can't bring them
reason.
back to Target because you don't like what's in them.
Like I don't want to have to be that guy to be like, to explain
Right.
to them why that's not possible. Do I still have to deny it though? Because that's like a bad precedent. You know what I mean?
This
It's
is the
so it's
worst one. This is the worst one I ever got. I was doing a bounty hunt
okay.
and I had a guy buy 3 whole booster boxes from me.
Okay.
I ripped him 3 booster boxes in a row, talking to him the entire time about how he can't wait to get the Palkia. He wants the Palkia. It's the last one he needs. He
Astral
didn't hit.
Radiance. Okay, so it's
Yep,
Astral Radiance.
AR. Yep,
Okay.
he did not hit the Palkia in 3
Uh,
boxes. I get a request 2 hours later when I go to do shipping. As I'm doing shipping, I see the request come in. I'd like to cancel those 3 booster boxes because I didn't hit the Palkia. And I'm like,
that no, no,
no,
no,
no,
no,
I can't do anything with these now. No, I'm
no.
sorry.
And
Like,
some people watching might view that and be like, oh, you're a bad person. What if that guy had kids to feed? And I would say to that, he probably shouldn't have been spending his kids, food on Pokemon cards if that's the case, because I have no sympathy in that particular case. But
yeah,
yeah, that's funny, and that's the type of stuff that like you obviously can just be like, look, no, and that's why we take the 10% plus fees that Whatnot is taking from us, because I bet you if you were to go and if so, I don't want to like put that guy or anything on the spot, but I'm gonna guess that you said no to that, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's an
yeah,
absolute no. That's a
yeah, that
no
was a no.
skin
That
8
was a
mile.
no.
That's not even a, I don't even have to think
Right.
about that. That's not even, I wouldn't even feel bad about that. But Whatnot, if that person goes to fight that, then Whatnot will have your back. You have
Yeah,
buyer's protection, or you have seller's protection, just like buyers have buyer's protection.
it's very nice because I actually, when he did that, I reached out to Whatnot support and I was like, yo, what do I do here? I don't want this guy's claiming this and I don't want to approve this. They're like, I didn't know this. They're like, you don't have to approve a cancellation. It's up to you. And I was like, I did not know that because it doesn't happen to me that often. The only
Yeah,
other
no, it's
times
very
it's,
rare. Anyone who's
yeah,
listening, these types of things are rare. And even I'm sure on eBay, even though you said that it's happening a lot more, it's still, it's
Yes.
because you sell in so much higher volume, I'm sure, right?
And eBay is a, yes, and eBay
Yeah.
is a 100% buy. So Whatnot's
Buyer.
buy,
Yeah.
yes, Whatnot's buyer protection, and I think this is good too.
Mhm.
Sellers are not allowed to cancel orders.
Yes. No, we
You
can't.
as a,
We get a
we
strike.
can't.
You
Yes,
lose your privileges as a
yes,
seller if you have if
yes,
so they used to be a 3 strike system. Now you get one chance and then you're on review. And then your account is on like pending review. So as Whatnot sellers, we have to be very careful. If we sell something, we don't cancel, we follow through. And if
yeah,
we don't, there are
absolutely.
serious repercussions. On the
Yes, for
buyer
sure.
side,
There
that
should
is
be
not
too.
the same case. And
I
that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize
I
either.
don't think they do either. That's why I think it's a very fair platform. Um, I did have a very bad experience today on Whatnot though. Actually, so my first ever like bad experience, and here's what happened. So I opened my I checked my Instagram. I think it was, what's today? Wednesday?
It's
Today's
Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday.
I know. I thought it was Thursday earlier.
I think it was Sunday. I don't even remember what day it was. It was a day or two ago. I checked my Instagram and somebody had tagged me in their story, in their Instagram story, calling me out.
For what?
Like I don't even remember exactly what it said. I didn't take a screenshot of it, but it was somebody I had no, it was a Whatnot seller. And I had no idea who this dude was. I had never been on his channel. Hold on, there's more to the story. But in my mind, I had never been on this guy's channel. I don't know what this guy's talking about, but he basically said something like, "Oh, EchoBase is coming in and promoting, like self-promoting himself," and I'm over here like, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have time to go on anyone else's
I was gonna say, I
streams."
don't think you have time to do any others. Like, yeah.
I was like, "Dude, I don't know what he's talking about." So I thought it was a troll. So I just blocked it. I blocked it. I didn't want to deal with it. I don't want him coming on my page because I have had on my personal Instagram, I've had this problem where I have had people. I'm not even going to say what my personal Instagram is, but I have had to make my personal Instagram private because I have had people just for no reason just attack me. Like, because I do strongman, so I'm very like active in like weightlifting communities and
Okay.
like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of stuff. It's there's a lot of trolls there. There's a lot of trolls.
That's
There's a
not
lot.
something I would imagine trolls being
It's a
because,
whole thing. Yep,
but
it's a whole thing.
if you're gonna troll anything, why would you troll the people who are the
Right.
strongest people in the freaking world who can crush you like a
I don't
can?
know.
Like
So,
that
but it's
doesn't seem
just,
like a smart decision as a troll.
and there's lots of like people that want to like come at you with like, can you take your shirt off type stuff, and I'm just like, like I don't want to deal with any of that.
That's just
Right, right,
weird.
right.
That's
It
just
is
weird.
weird.
It's just like we're playing
So
Pokemon here.
I I I I blocked him because I don't want him. I don't want to deal with anything like
Fair
that.
enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2 days later, this morning, I'm in my stream and I see him come in.
So you
So I'm
recognize
like,
his name right away, sort of thing.
recognize his name right
Okay.
away
Okay.
because this never happened to me before.
I got you.
So I recognize his name right away. So I blocked him on the stream. I've only ever blocked 2 people. The only other time I ever blocked someone from one of my streams, the guy in the stream he was a troll. He came in and was started attacking my stream members, calling
Yeah.
them like, "You guys are a bunch of dorks. What the
Easy
hell are you doing?"
ban. That's a
Easy ban.
hard ban. Yeah, hard ban.
This this was the only other time, because it's the only other time I've ever seen anyone shoot any sort of negativity, and it was a pretty inflammatory Instagram post. So I'm like, I was right getting into it this morning in my stream. I didn't want to deal with this. I'm like, nope, we are not dealing with this right now. So I banned him. So I get like 5, 10, 20 minutes into the stream, I start getting my members saying, "Yo, what's the deal with you and so and so? Like, I'm one of his subscribers too, and like I don't understand like what's the beef with you two?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know who this dude is. I don't know who this dude is."
You're like, no beef. You're like, I'm eating chicken today, dude. I'm not
Right.
even
I'm
having
like,
beef right now.
I don't even know who this guy is. So I the more so everyone keeps saying in the chat, they're like, "Oh, they're saying you came on his he's saying you came on his stream and started promoting yourself." And the more now like 2 people are saying, the more I'm thinking about this, I figured out what happened. So I let my sister and my stepdaughter use my phone because to watch my sister's young, and so is my stepdaughter, and they like to use my phone to watch Whatnot.
Oh yeah, yeah. My girlfriend doesn't have her own Whatnot app. She'll watch on my account when she wants to watch
Yep.
like Penn, Loungefly, Disney streams, those
So
things. Yeah.
as soon as I got done with my stream this morning, I called up my sister and I was like, listen, you had my phone the other day. Here's what some people are saying. Were you doing this? She's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Oh no. So what was
Megan,
she doing? She was just like in his
she
chat being like, hey, what's
she
up? I'm EchoBase and come
come
see.
follow me. Yep. Apparently that's what she was doing.
She
And
probably
apparently
thought she was being nice and
she thought this is what she
she was
said.
like,
She's
oh,
like, I
I
thought
have
it was
Echo's phone. I'm gonna help him out here. I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna go to these other streams and watch and help and talk and
that's
be him.
exactly what she did. That's
And I'm
exactly
sure
what
it's
she did.
probably only a couple times too, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how, but she said
Who
she
knows?
said she
But
jumped in like 3 or 4 streams
oh
and
no, oh no.
and dropped
That's so-
a
I'm not
dropped
laughing
like
because I'm sorry. I'm not laughing because
it's
I'm
fun.
laughing because it's probably a thing in her mind. She wasn't thinking it was gonna
She
be.
wasn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She's like, her exact words was, I thought I was helping you. And
Oh god.
I was like, Megan, you can't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried to explain to her and I
Hopefully she
told her, I
didn't
was
feel
like,
too bad after the fact
she
because
felt bad. She felt bad.
Oh
So,
no. Oh.
so I reached out to the dude and I told him what happened. His response to me was so like, what do you think he said? Like, do you think he was like, oh, you know, I understand. I'm sorry. That sort of stuff happens. No,
I
of
mean,
course
the
not.
worst thing I would say, even if he was still angry about it, I would say he might say, "Yeah, but don't let it happen again, man. I would
Sure.
I'd appreciate if you don't let that happen again. That's really like irresponsible. Blah blah blah. Sure, give me a little flaming, whatever. If that
Sure.
makes you feel better, let's be done with it."
And I apologized to the moon to him. I was like,
Oh
listen,
wow, yeah, and
this
you're
is
not you're a reasonable guy, so
right.
it's not
I
like
was
you
like,
were like,
listen,
yeah, it's not. I
here's what
understand how
happened.
that could. Okay, so
Here's what happened. I'm really sorry about it. I didn't know about this. I didn't know it was going on. You know, I've talked to my sister. She's, you know, she's not allowed to use my phone anymore. It's not going to happen again.
mhm.
He's over here like, well, I've heard from other members that like other channels that you did this to them too, and I reported you to Whatnot and this and that, and they're going to look into it. And I was like, dude, I just told you she probably did it to 2 or 3 other pages that day. I was like, so I emailed Whatnot support and I was kind of like upset about it because I don't have any strikes on my account.
You'll be
This
fine. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it'll be
that's what they
fine.
said. But
Yeah,
it just pisses me off because like I'm
it's
sure some
silly.
of my followers follow him and like I don't want people talking. I have spent so much time and effort building a good relationship with my community
Yeah,
that
totally.
like over this bullshit
Yeah.
that like it was an honest mistake. It wasn't even me. He was like, LOL, that's the oldest trick in the book. You probably don't even have. I was like, okay, yeah, I don't have a sister, dude. Like he like really like tried to say like I don't have like a sister or anything. I'm just like, dude, like
It
whatever.
seems like it wouldn't be worth carrying on anymore. I personally would probably not worry about it just because, like you
Right.
said, I don't think you have the strikes to worry about it. You've done
No,
so much in the community that it's like you've worked on your reputation. It's like,
it's just
yeah,
it was just one of those things that just ruined my day. It's just because it
yeah.
got to me because it's like
Well, because you care.
because
You
I
care.
care. Because
Yeah.
I care. Number one, I care. And like, yeah, exactly. Like it's just, I didn't really know how Whatnot worked or anything. And it was like, like the thought of not being able to stream and like see a lot of these guys and like do the singles and stuff. Like I really do enjoy doing it. And I was just like, all this over something silly.
Yeah.
Like,
So one time I had an experience similar to what you are experiencing, not similar in that bad way, like someone tried to flame me or whatever, but I had that feeling of like, oh no, I'm going to lose all this. My first time that I ever made a big mistake. So I was listing items on my Whatnot page, and it was a long time ago. This is a long time ago. This is before you could do mass quantities, before you could like do all these fancy listings that you can kind of to
which
put
is really
what
nice.
type of thing it is. Just
Yeah.
literally just the item description, what it is, and the amount. I
Yep.
was listing 5 or 6 different items that all had the same cost. The last one, it was like a I think it was a $500 item, and it was
Okay.
very high cost. I think it was like vintage booster pack, and the last one was $50 because I didn't put a 0 at the end. Okay, so I got them all bought out except for one, the last one, and then someone bought that last one in my stream and hit a really big card, and so we were sitting there on the big card after they hit it, and someone just said, "Hey, how did they just pay $50 for that booster pack? Can I get one? Because it's like a $500 booster pack, essentially. It was like, so it's
Oh,
an expensive pack. And so I
yeah.
had to then, because say to this person, hey, I'm really sorry, but you need to pay the price that this was supposed to be, that all the rest of these items were the actual price. If you want it, and I'll
Right.
honor it, it's fine, but I'm gonna have to cancel this order if you want it for $50, but you know, you can pay the normal price. And he
And
said,
you would have
oh,
done the
well, I really want it for $50, and that kind of makes me disappointed. I wish you'd honor it. I said, I understand that, but you have to understand that I would like this item for $50, and you know, it's a $350, $400
right. You
pack,
pay
and I was
right.
offering a hollow insurance on it too, and so it's like all this extra stuff, and it's like, I was like, I understand, but you clearly can see there were 4 items, the same item, priced at this, that were bought at a certain price, and he ended up being like, okay, I'm really disappointed. I personally had the moment you were talking about. I had never canceled an order before. I honored everything
You had that
always. I
moment.
never made a mistake like that. I never mistyped something in. And so I thought immediately, oh no, am I going to get my first strike for canceling an order? And I'm going to have some restrictions on my account and not be able to do the thing that I love. And so I reached out to Whatnot. I said, hey, I explained what happened. I said, I gave them screenshots, and I told them, you can look at my solds, you know, the same item, same listing, just different number. And they were very, very, you know, they would have been happy to take care of the buyer. Like if you said, oh, well, I want a full refund, and I was unwilling to refund, or some weird situation, I know they would have taken care of the buyer, but they took care of the seller as well. And said, no worries, you can cancel the order. We won't give you a strike
Wow,
for it.
nice.
We understand, you know, situations like this occur. We reviewed the situation. It looks like it was an honest mistake. And then I realized that it's like the reason that people like you and like me have these moments of where we're like, oh no, we feel bad, is because we legitimately, you don't mean to make
Right.
a mistake, and you're not wanting to do something that's like messed up, but you feel
Right.
bad about it, you know?
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't want to lose that privilege either. So I've had that
No.
moment, but for different reasons. So going back to the beef that's on Whatnot with other sellers, I do think that to a certain extent, just in the Pokemon sphere, Pokemon beef just doesn't need to exist as much as it does
I
sometimes.
agree. I
You know,
agree.
I think sometimes it just gets a little overblown, maybe sometimes, especially in times of turbulence, when maybe people aren't making as much money as they were before, and
Yeah.
everything is like
Yeah.
skyrocketing. And it's like people maybe get a little bit overworked up about certain things. I do think lately Whatnot has been really a difficult platform for me personally to sell on. I've moved, and even though you're saying you're having issues more with eBay and you're finding like a lot more fun, you're having a lot more fun with Whatnot, I've
Yeah.
actually moved a little bit more towards eBay and more towards TCG Player and away from Whatnot recently, because it's just the platform has been well, for sure it's been competitive. And so if you
I.
go on right now, there's probably 50
It's
plus
ridiculous. It's
Pokemon
ridiculous.
streams,
Yeah.
and all of them have great things to offer. Majority of them have the same types of things to offer. Most of them are doing the thing that I invented on Whatnot, rip till you hit.
I know. I
And
know.
so a
I've
good
seen that.
50% of them are doing the thing that, and I even still have a hard time competing with a lot
That's
of that.
ridiculous.
And so it is one of those things that I think it's a bearishness within the market that's seeped its way into pretty much everywhere, including Whatnot. And so while I feel like eBay is doing a lot of stuff that like sides with the buyer, and you're probably getting some returns, and I definitely think that sucks. I think that the future of eBay is looking brighter, because this is a good conversation to talk about that new eBay vault
Mm-hmm.
that they just reviewed, or that they just
Unveiled.
announced, because it does kind of go into that whole like the issue of returns and buyer and seller
Yeah.
kind of confidence, because not only does it prevent returns because it goes through their authenticity guarantee program, which already, if it goes through the authenticity guarantee, you can't do a return. Sales are final. And like, there's no like, oh, I got this item, but it doesn't look like the same. And then they put a different one back in the box, ship it back to you. There's
Bait
none
and
of that
switch, which
garbage.
happens to me all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you worry about. That's literally your worst nightmare as a seller with
Yeah.
good feedback and with like a good high top rated seller. You can't say no to buyers when they
No, you
want to
can't.
return something. EBay might make you think you can say no. You
You
can't
can't.
say
You
no to
cannot say
buyers.
no. You
If the
cannot.
buyer knows what they're doing and they mark it as
Yes.
item not as
Not
described,
described.
no
Yes.
matter what, if it's
I
within
found something
3 days
interesting
or two
else.
days for TCGs, yeah,
TC. Yep. found out something else interesting about items not as described. So everybody knows that as a seller, there are certain on eBay, there are certain types of defects you can get on your account that will bump you from the 12% to 15% final value fee.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah.
those defects are canceling orders with anything other than requested by, you can cancel orders for requested by seller. You can't, if you cancel orders for anything other than that, and you
Oh.
do it a certain amount of time in 30 days.
I didn't know that they actually took track of that. That's good. I've never done it, but I didn't know
They
they
keep
kept track
track of
of it
that.
because it doesn't mark it on your account really, or I
Yep.
guess it does, but it's a
I've had
flag.
to, so I had to cancel a couple orders when I started my eBay back up again, because I also sell Transformers. So it's my other
Right.
type of collectible. And there's been times where I've taken 100 pictures and I've listed stuff and it doesn't sell. So then I convert it to an auction, but I still have it listed and the buy it in the buy it now. It'll sell. I'll
Oh,
forget to take it down. Somebody will buy it. And I'm like, shit, I don't
yeah,
have it. I don't have it.
yeah.
Well, if you cancel an item for out of stock, that's a strike. That's a
Same thing on
no-no.
TCG Player. You can't cancel. Like I've had that happen. Like I've sold a card on Whatnot where I didn't take it down for my TCG. This is in the early days before I made a separate box for my TCG Player singles, and I didn't have the card in inventory. I had to actually refund because of out of inventory.
And you
You
get a
can't do that
strike.
a certain amount of times. They do keep a track. So there are, I'm sure there are ways to. So that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
It
that's
makes
one
sense.
way. And another way is the other big one is it's not shipping times. There's another traditional big returns. If you have a certain, now here it is. If you get a certain number of returns opened, so this is the whole return process that I'm very familiar with.
That's too bad. It's too bad that you're familiar with it. So I've only had to
So
deal with a few on eBay, so maybe I'm a little jaded in that I haven't had.
most
Yeah.
of it's honestly non-Pokemon. It's a lot of like collectible. There's a lot of collectible assholes out there. But and then the most common return I get on eBay is people bait and switching me for Pokemon cards. That one I do get. Um and then but so here's so buyer initiates a return. As a seller, even if you have no returns on your account, you are very limited in your options. Your options are respond with a message, offer full refund,
Or partial
offer
refund.
partial refund,
Yeah.
or offer return. So
Right.
you can provide a label, they can send you it back, then you can refund.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't do anything, automatic strike against you. You have to respond with one of those 4 very buyer oriented messages. So here's what you can do. You can accept the return, provide them a label on your dime for the item, and then you can open a case with eBay and say, hey, I have this return initiated. I approve the return. If you open the case after the fact that you've approved the return and you say, I don't think this is about return, they're going to tell you, so sad, too bad, you've already approved the return. If you open the case before, you have like a 1-day window to call eBay and open a case or use their chat window. You have one or 2 days because you have to make that 1 in 4 decision. You have 2 days as a seller to open a case before you approve the return and say, hey, I don't think I should have to approve this return for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They will tell you, okay, don't take any action. We're going to review the case. Every single one I've ever had has come back, sorry, we are siding with the buyer. You have to approve the return. Even to the fact that I shipped a guy, it was a Dragon Ball Z card. I don't have many left. It was a score DBZ card. So this is a $400 card. I sold a Super Saiyan. It was obviously good condition.
Mm-hmm.
I sold a Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It's a $400 card also.
That's expensive, ultra rare. Yeah.
Yes, it is. The guy got it, immediately opened the case saying, you didn't send me the card. I sent a picture saying, and the one he sent had a crease down the back. And I'm like, dude, that's not my card.
No.
That's not my card.
No.
That's a bait and switch. So I thought that I was up at 10 o'clock at night after getting transferred 4 times, screaming, unfortunately, to the poor man in the fourth in the line about this issue. Because like I'm literally getting stolen from. Like I asked the guy, I was like, what are you guys going to do for me? His exact answer was, well, you can always take it up with your credit card company or your banking institution. They wouldn't do because he's like, so what I told him, I was like, if I don't approve this return, you're going to give me a strike.
Yep.
If I approve the return, you're going to say I approve the return.
And then I can't do anything afterwards.
And then I can't do anything afterwards. So what do you want me to do? He's like,
You're
well,
damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a catch-22.
Exactly. And this is why I said what I said earlier about what I thought PSA was going to say, because this is what eBay told me. They told me we weren't there. We can't tell if you actually put that card in that box or not. And I was like, whatever, dude. I give up. I give up. You win. I don't know what else to do. It's 9:00 at night. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I've streamed or whatnot. I've just done all my shipping. I've worked my job all day long. I don't know what else you want me to do. You win. It's not worth my time at this point. The bad people win. Fine. He can have the card. I don't freaking care anymore. So that it's like,
and that's why seller protection is so important as a platform.
yes,
And it is so important that not only are your buyers feeling confident and protected on what they're buying, but the people who are selling feel confident, because I bet you that you're not going to want to go and sell a high-end product or a high-end item like that on eBay. It's not going to be your first choice, is it?
exactly. No, it's not. Like now I want to like, I don't mind with the authenticity items because obviously no returns, but no, this and the other. So I just sold. So here's a common thing we all do in the Pokemon community, right? We buy a collection. I buy collections off eBay. I bought a collection for like 1,500 the other week. I took out the 15 cards, 12 cards that I don't know, it's like 20, whatever, however many cards I wanted to keep out of that collection. I rebranded the collection, most of it, and I put it back up on eBay. Accurate pictures, everything, whatever. I just, right before we start the stream, I just had a guy message me trying to claim that some of the cards were fake because, first of all, he doesn't know what vending series glossy cards are.
Or I was gonna say, or maybe the mid diamond and pearl era, how it's a little bit lighter blue sometimes on the black. It looks a little bit. It does catch me sometimes as I'm going through the back. I'm like, wait, oh, that's diamond and pearl. Okay, yeah.
He's trying to claim that the glossy cards in the collection, the vending cards, or the core were fake because they're glossy.
You're like, dude, those are good. Those are good.
No, I was like, dude, you want those. Those are good cards.
Yeah, you want
that. No. He's like, no, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to initiate a return. I'm like, dude, whatever. Like, I can't win. I was just like, I can't win. Like,
I don't sell raw cards.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah. So I think you don't have the I don't want to say, I guess, the ability like I do to pick and choose, because like I just don't have as extensive of a raw collection as you do per se. And so like you have a lot more raw inventory than I do. So like for me, I can make the decision. I can basically say, I don't want to do raw cards because I have so few that I would want to sell. I might as well turn them into slabs and then sell them as slabs, because it's easier, a little bit more liquid, and it's a little bit less with dealing with like returns and stuff for like conditioning. So, and also CGC is like $13.50 free shill there for them. So yeah, why not, right? So I totally get it. I personally though, I think though that the buyers right now, they should be happy with what's going on in the market. I don't know why any returns are happening. Things are going so low right now. Like I'm sure that the collection that guy bought, probably he got it for a good price.
Oh yeah, it was like $200 we're talking about here. Like it wasn't even that high. What I turned around and sold was easily 200 in value. Like
and I've seen people brick on a single booster of fossil for that they paid over $200 of like a non-hollow Dragonite from a fossil booster for $200. So like that's a good buy on a collection. So it's very odd to me that people are sort of having that sort of reaction lately more so. And would you say it's more now than it was before? Now that the market,
and it is more. And you know what? I am just trying, because I'm generally try to. So I'm 30. How old am I? 38 years old.
I'm 33, so I think I'm 33. So I forget sometimes. So yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy.
So it's taken me a while in my personal life to develop an outlook, because I'm generally I worry a lot. I have the type of mind that I like to process all possible scenarios. I was very good at chess for this reason. I was very good in chess in high school. I like to think out scenarios to their inevitable conclusions and then so one of my favorite characters was from Game of Thrones was Littlefinger because he said that one famous quote, you play out every scenario at every moment. And I remember hearing that quote and I was like, holy shit, that's exactly how I think. So but my significant other my fiance has told me, she's like, and it's very good advice. She's like, you really should stop worrying so much. Like just in general, things tend to work out for the better at the end of the day. Like, and I guess a lot of it is of my upbringing. Like I grew up very poor. I grew up very poor. And I've told this, I've told people this on my channel. I grew up like ketchup and mayonnaise sandwiches were a thing. Like I grew up pretty poor. And,
Joe, I've lived
and
in 3 different trailer parks in my life. So
all right,
I've been right there with you.
my family owned their first house when I was in high school. So yeah, we rent it most of my life. So I'm right there with you, man. So I am, but I've also had very, very, very good male influences that have instilled a lot of good advice upon me. Hard work being one of them. And I am very protective of what I have. And I'm of the belief that in our lives, a lot of our major decisions and where we end up in life can all come down to 5 or 6. There's actually a quote on this, 5 to 10 particular moments in your life where you can make one of 2 decisions. And it's that chain of 5 or 10 moments, monumental moments in your life that dictate where you turn out to be. So that sort of thought, it sticks with me and it makes me very nervous all the time about like, am I making the right decision?
You don't want to miss that moment.
I don't want to miss
one
that
of those
moment.
5 or 6 moments.
Yeah. So, where I'm going with this is, actually, honest to Christ, I've been talking so long, I don't even remember where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Learned in life that took you so long into
What were we talking about? eBay? What were we talking about?
And just essentially just eBay and selling, and then like your feelings about like returns, and then in general how things
Right. Oh, right.
Lately.
So you had asked me if this is if I believe that this is related to like the current sentiment in the market.
Yes.
And I have switched that thinking to trying to be more of an optimist, to not worry about all that mind fuckery, and to try to not worry about the minutia and take the opinion of, all right, maybe this is just a momentary thing. Maybe this is just this month. It hasn't historically been this way. Maybe it won't keep doing this. Maybe things will change. They got to change. Let's look at all the reasons about why they can be changed. Maybe we should all be a little bit more bullish than bearish. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to take more of that mindset. And that's why I really do like listening to a lot of the financial channels out there that really do analyze market trends over the course of the last 20 years. And it's not in all aspects of the hobby. I have seen, like, I've had a lot of people very bullish on my whatnot with certain items. So give you an example. How many do I have left? I don't have many left. I have these PSA 9 Nationals Championship Charizards.
Oh, those are so nice.
They are nice.
Everyone loves those too. Yes.
I graded before PSA shut down. I sent them in regular service, I believe. I sent in 10 of them, between 10 and 15 of them, every one of them that I had, because I judged Nationals this year, and that's where I got my stack from.
That's such a good year. That is such a good year to judge.
Was not intentional, but it turns out to be, hey, it's 2000.
Just the Charizard.
Right. I guess it was a good year to go. Right.
Could have been a Wobbuffet, or it could have been like a Skarmory or something.
Well, actually, the years pre and post. Hang on, I actually have them right here. Where's my staff binder here? So there was the Blastoise. This was
the Crystal Guardians one.
Yep, yeah. The Blastoise one. There was the Blastoise one, and
that's
then
a good one too.
The one after that was, where is it? It was the Dragonite.
Oh, so maybe they were doing some really good ones.
There were some really good ones, but obviously the Holo Charizard being the creme de la creme of them all. Yeah. And I didn't intend for that. Anyway, the point is, I have had this card listed on my eBay at buy it now 1,800 for the last 8 months, 10 months.
Yeah.
I sold 2 or 3 during the hype. I have yet to sell. I had yet to sell one since then.
Mhm.
In the last 3 weeks, I've sold 2 of them and whatnot because I always have one in my buy it now. I have it in at 1,700, so I do
Yeah,
have
just
it
a
in at
little under
less,
the lowest
a
on
little
eBay.
under eBay.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
because the
that's what I
fees are
have. I have
less.
the same thing with my my Slow King and my
Oh,
Pikachu.
nice, nice. I love those cards, man. I got to get some more of those. I
So this
freaking
one
love those
just sold.
cards.
So similar story to what you're saying. I've seen nothing but in the modern market, I've seen nothing but bearishness. It seems like people are still they're still involved with the hobby and they're still enjoying it, but it's certainly not going to the moon. And there's a lot more hesitancy and bearishness within the modern market. Now, this card has been listed on my eBay for, it was during the entire hype, listed for close to 3,000. I had it for 2,750. And so that's
Wow.
not the price. That's not a good price. That's a very high price. That's a price that's supposed to it's for best offer. I have a best offer as well. It's supposed to discourage you from wanting to
From
buy
buying it, right?
because it's one of 3 in the entire world. And at the time when
Wow.
I listed it, and up until just 2 weeks ago, it was one of 2 in the entire world. And so I
Wow.
keep a very close eye on this population because I'm one of the only owners of this card. And so for nobody was interested. I got some lowball offers. I'd get like a $700, $1,000 offer here. Until about 6 months ago, I got the best offer I ever had for it, and it was about $1,750. It was right around January, and I remember it was before my birthday, and I remember not needing the money so bad and thinking, I let the offer go the entire time.
Yes, I've done that before too.
And I denied it the last second, but I told him if you wanted to up the offer to 2,000 that I would accept it. And I'd be like, I wouldn't be able to say no to an even 2,000, take up fees and all this stuff, but I had it listed at 2,750. He said, no, sorry, I'm not willing. That's my highest. And that was that. So literally that night, I had a weird thought. I took the listing down and I raised the price to 3,000.
Stop.
And that's where it sat. And that's the only one that's been there forever. And so it sat for 3,000 until now, 6 months later. The market's crashed. Everything's going down. Nobody's bullish on anything anymore. Guess what I just sold just yesterday for, guess what I sold it for?
You sold it for 3.
2,000. No,
you sold it for 2. But you got, okay, yeah.
So
okay.
I got an offer for 1,900, okay? That's fair.
Sure.
That's a fair offer.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you, when you put your when on your listings like that, what do you put when you set the allow best offer, do you put a low? Like, do you put in a minimum? Okay.
For certain cards. For this card, my low was 1,000. I didn't want to even hear offers less than 1,000.
Because Nick doesn't, old school. He says he puts best offer, but he says he likes to negotiate. He likes the negotiation process. So he'll go back and forth with people over everything. And I've always wondered, he's the only other person I've ever talked to I've even asked that question to. So I do the same as you. I have a low. I have a low in my cards too.
It's just not worth my time at some points because I will still go and I'll actually look to see if offers are being made. And to be honest, some of the lowball offers that get auto declined, I wouldn't want to deal with that person anyway. It's like I had someone offer $75 on it. And I was like, the card itself raw in damage condition is probably $150, $100 or something. I don't know. So
wow.
So I was like, okay, those are the types of offers I'm glad to have the auto declines on because it's not worth the time and the vibrate that you get in the eBay message or whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, I would agree with you that like I think there's a reason for that. The reason why those bigger cards are finally starting to maybe move. It's as a buyer, like if you're thinking about being a big buyer in something and you're trying to be a responsible buyer, you know not to buy during the hype. You know not to buy as things are going up. And if you know fundamentals of a lot of items, you know these things go up and down. And so if you're really patient about it, I think it's smart to purchase items like that when times of turbulence are happening or times of downturn, because it's less likely or it's more likely that you're going to get the best deal possible for it, or people are going to be willing to let those items go. For example, during the boom, there are a lot of people in this hobby who could have sold and didn't sell at the height. I know I myself had offers for my personal collection, like large numbers that I just wasn't willing to entertain because I was just I was on the moon. Everyone is on a
Right.
rocket ship. You know, I felt the wind in my hair, and my mouth was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, I was
This is
just like
never
I
gonna
was
stop.
nauseated by the whole rocket ship ride.
You're
And
like
so I
riding
didn't
into the
take
moon.
yeah, and so I know that people exist in the hobby who also didn't sell at the high, who probably wish they did, and it's okay to feel that way. It is totally okay to feel that way. But that being said, like in times of turbulence, you feel better about letting those items go. So like now is the time to strike on items like this.
Yeah.
Items like $1,800 Charizard that maybe you think, oh, is it going to go down? Well, no, it's not like a bunch of them are. How many EchoBase collectibles are in the world? Have like how many did you send in? 15.
15.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not
I
a
mean,
lot.
how many judges were at that tournament with you? Probably like 3 or 4.
6 or 7, but
Okay,
still.
so a couple more. Yeah,
And they might not, and I know a couple of them, and they don't have theirs anymore.
exactly. They sold them when they reached $20 or $30
Sure.
or
Yeah.
$50 or 100. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like there is I think there's an argument to be made for those higher end items, and that's always what the people in the hobby, like the Jakes in the hobby, you know, the people who are saying like invest in those super scarce rare items that have more of a history of holding their value, whereas those other items like modern and like a lot of like stonking cards and cards that you sort of waifu cards and things you don't expect come out of left field, those are things you can't necessarily rely on as much. They go up and they go down with the market, because I will say the waifu market does seem to be holding a lot better
The
than I
waifu
was
markets.
expecting.
That's one thing. Like, listen, I got to get in on that. I admittedly, I like Skyla. Skyla's my
Oh,
girl.
Skyla's best waifu. She's best girl. Yeah.
She
Sure.
You know why? She
Her
reminds me of
big, giant, round,
No.
blue eyes. You thought I was gonna say something else, didn't you? You thought I was gonna say something else.
Yes, I did. Yes, I
did. Gotcha.
She reminds me of one of the pilots from Neo Genesis Evangelion.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
The suit.
Yes, that is Asuka. She's
best exactly.
Girl. Asuka is best girl. That's
oh
Skyla.
My god.
Yes,
100%. You're like the only other person I've talked to who's known that.
Yeah, and Retrospects is a huge
is
Neo,
he? I gotta talk to this guy
Evangelion fan.
Nice.
He loves it.
Don't
ever get him started talking about that. He won't stop. Okay. Shout out to you, Nick.
but that's the first thing I saw when I thought of Skyla. You know, it's funny too, because so I like Lily so I stopped watching the anime a long time ago, but I am going back. I don't know how I just found this, but I just found Evolutions.
Oh wow.
And I'm watching them, and I just watched the one today with Lily and Rayquaza on it, and like I think that's part of the reason I feel like a boomer a little bit. I don't know a lot. I'll be self-admittedly, I don't know a lot of the waifu characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's Misty or Erica here. Like it's characters I don't know. I can't connect or identify with. And I'm not like one of those. I don't want to throw any judge. I'm not a hentai fan. Like that's like I get that's your thing. That's your thing. I get all that. Like
I get saying. Yeah. You don't have a body pillow waifu that you sleep with.
Sure, no. And
okay.
I know
I'm surprised. I took you as a waifu body pillow kind of guy. I don't know. I
don't know. Like I was just saying.
No shit. I'm just kidding. For anyone out there who's got their body pillow and they're watching, you know, you give old Asuka a good hug.
Yeah.
Asuka's best girl. No judgment, but yeah, I get what you're saying though.
But
yeah.
No, I mean, like I was saying on my stream the other day, I finally pulled a Misty character. You know, I opened 2 cases before I pulled my first freaking Misty character rare.
Wow, I've opened 3 of them so far. I have 3 at CGC,
wow.
4 other people
nice.
That we pulled on our stream, and I only got 3 cases of Astral Radiance, so like not that many.
So how do you get your modern cards, like for yourself? Like how do you have so much? Do you open your own product?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that I send in is a lot of promos, because when I buy from my distributor, I have those collection boxes. I typically will take the promos out of the boxes and I'll check them, and the ones that I think are literally pristine, I'll kind of set them aside in a pile, potentially grade later. And then when I do want to send a 50 card order to CGC looking for 50 cards of modern cards, I have like 50 of these. What are these things? Like these Sylveons, you know, the Sylveon D promos. They're dollar cards. They're $1 bulk cards, but I opened 50 of them from like the 10s, you know, these these
Sure,
EV tins.
because you just break the packs and sell the
Because I'm breaking the
packs.
packs. So like I end up having so much of these modern promos that are like $1 to $2 cards that are really, so the majority of the stuff that I'm sending is very, very low value. So
So
Dan
like,
from
how
Catch
much
'em
will
All
one of those?
Collectible. I'm sorry, go there.
How much? I think there's a delay in our thing. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
How much? How much will one of those Sylveons sell for? How much do you sell those for?
For like a perfect Sylveon.
Yeah, like a 10.
I haven't sold any yet. So I just got that submission back. This was today's, these Sylveons. It also had the Umbreon character rare, which, so the Sylveons,
Ooh,
I
nice.
sent 2 Sylveons in. I probably had 50 of them to choose from. I sent 2, the best 2 that I pre-graded. One got a pristine 10 and one got a perfect 10. 2
Nice.
for 2. But it took
Nice.
50. And I opened them myself out of the actual, and I was like, I had my hands soaking in lotion for 5 hours before I started opening it. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? I was delicate. I was like a baby. I was like, opening it with baby hands. I was trying to be conscious
It's
of
always it's always been one of the challenges that I have tried to figure out what to do with the other items I must take from my distributor.
Mhm.
I have been using them as prizes in various type of games. Anything that's not a booster box, even the ETBs, I will just use them as prizes. And I've been pretty successful with that because I only run bounty hunt and 10 card pool game.
Yeah.
And I will use those as prizes, but I've considered, so like my problem is that if I break them out, like it's very easy for you because one great thing about Rip Till You Hit is you have lots of different choices on every one of your streams. Every one of my streams has a theme. We're either breaking Astral or we're breaking Fusion that day.
Right.
And if I open 15 Cleaver V boxes and I get 15 random Fusion packs out of that. And the other thing about the way I do it was ripping whole boxes is a lot of my people like to keep track of what secrets have been pulled out of those boxes.
Absolutely. That's something that I always have to clarify on my streams. If people come in and ask and say, hey, is this out of a booster box, out of a collection? I'm like, these are out of tins, out of boxes. This one's maybe out of a booster box. We open it on stream.
Sure.
People do like to know that. But once you tell them, I'll tell you, once you just say what it is, people don't care. People ask and they'll say, hey, is it out of a booster box? And I'll say no, and then they'll be the next one bidding. So I don't think it matters as much. I just want to know, they like to know. And to be honest, if I was buying packs, I would rather my packs come from collection boxes than booster boxes because you have a legitimate chance every single pack of getting something. Whereas if you get the secret rare from a booster box, you have to go through the rest of the booster box before you really have a kind of a good chance of getting another one. So there's a pros and cons to both. It's the whole single sleeve booster versus booster box, 36 single sleeves versus a booster box. Which one is better? It depends on your point of view, basically.
But I would like to do like you do because there's a lot of these promos that like I'm really jealous shipping a lot of these out. Like I would like to keep some of these.
Yeah, the Cleaver,
really,
dude,
it's cool.
And like
it's
the
so
Lucario
cool.
boxes, you know how many Lucario boxes I opened up? They're so cool. And like the pins that come with them, I do them for giveaways on my channel all the time.
That's a good idea.
And so so yeah, you can find ways of recouping. And
that's cool.
Like you said, you asked like how many Sylveons did I send to get a 10? And in that particular case, I went 2 for 2.
Okay.
Here's another example. You know these Pikachus, the ones from the celebrations?
Yeah.
I hated shipping these things. They were too big and bulky. You know what I did? I broke them all down. I broke every single one down.
Wow.
So you know what? I had stacks of those Pikachus, but they also came with 8 celebrations packs and then like some other 6 other booster packs. So like I used them all. They're all gone now. But you know what I have left? I have a bunch of those promos. So I sent 3 of the Pikachu promos in, my best 3. 3 for 3.
Hold the 10s. Nice.
So like you're not going to recoup the whole value back. But if you
but it's something.
And if you can potentially, this is a $3 card. This is a $2.50 card raw on TCG. Right. But like I can probably sell this card for $150 to $200 now.
Oh wow, is that what they're going for? See,
I mean, on eBay, the PSA 10s go for I think 150.
Yeah, you know what? That actually makes sense. I got a random pristine 10 of a Japanese sell by V.
Mm-hmm.
I listed that for $100. It sold in a day. It sold in like that. like
Yeah.
that. It was liquid and on $1 card, $100
And
on
also
$1 card.
Japanese, they grade so easily the
They
10.
do. They do.
They grade
They
much
do.
easier than English. I don't deal in Japanese, so I don't have any Japanese. All of my 10s are English, but yeah. So that's
So
another thing. So like if I was playing the grading game, if I was strictly looking to play the grading flipping game, I would probably much be more interested in Japanese product. I would be if I was literally
yeah.
looking for the pristines, because like
Oh yeah.
people will
There's
pay the
lots of.
same level for a Japanese 10 as they will for an English 10,
Well,
basically.
here's a good play you might want to look into if you want to start to do some on your own whatnot. I see people doing this all the time, that you can pick up sets of the character rares really, really cheap. Sets of the Japanese character rares. You can grade all of those immediately with CGC, and people are paying 100, 150 a pop for a 10 on a lot of those character rares.
And they're less than 50-cent cards. Yeah.
They're cheap cards,
Yeah.
but I see it all the time. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of times it does piss me off when I do see a lot of the bigger streamers selling that sort of stuff, because it's not like I think I'm better or anything, but like, I don't know. I really just want to like yell into the camera. You guys know you can buy these for $1 on eBay and grade them, right? Like, you know, you can do this. Like, you can do that. It's a lot harder to go out there and grab like like a Japanese Stormfront Charizard. Like, these are harder to find. Come buy this one. Like,
Yep.
but I
Yep.
never actually do that, because I sit back, I realize that it's just, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, what are you going to accomplish? It's not going to do anything. People are going to buy what they want anyway. And
It's
you know,
that
everyone's
10 premium, baby. It's that 10 premium. It doesn't make
true.
sense. It never has. It never will, I don't think. But for some reason, people
It's
get wonky
there.
when they see that 10 on that
It's
hard
true.
case.
It's true. Yep. So
It's a
you've
weird
actually,
thing, man.
you got me interested. I think I'm gonna do another CGC submission. I actually went in and unchecked my auto renew on my on
Yeah.
my account.
Well, listen. It's $750, right? And you get 50 shots at a 10. And so I had a ton of these Volt cards. These promo cards are worth like $1 or less, listed on my TCG player, listed on whatever, just in bulk lots that just aren't moving, that I'm just literally sitting on waiting for the next rocket ship to the moon, the next whatever is going to happen. COVID, I don't know what's going to happen next. It's going to make this. And so I was thinking to myself, either I wait for another Black Swan event, or I take a roll of the dice. And so, like, for example, the first submission I sent, those Pikachus, it was all just promos and stuff. I also sent some of these.
Oh, those are beautiful. Yo, tens on beautiful.
You think that these are not going to sell, Joe?
No, that I'd buy
at
one.
least
That's a
$100?
cool card. That's a cool card.
And I sent 5, and I got 3 of them as 10.
You're also lucky because that Gengar you sent too, you've been doing this long enough where you have X, Y, and Sun and Moon promos.
That's
where
true.
that Gengar is nice. And dude, that Gengar would pop in a 10 like that.
So I got 2 10s out of 13 of the Gengars, and I got a bunch of 9.5s. So like the 2 10s, I sold one right away, and the other one I don't have listed because I'm just like, I like.
But you know what's nice about those 9.5s, and this is the play I made. I have myself a nice big CGC 9.5 box.
Yeah, and those are great. They're good quality cards. I bet you would cross to PSA, no problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When PSA, you can set all your 9.5s back, and when PSA opens their $20 submission, send those puppies over to CGC and get yourself some 10s.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't even, I mean, I might want to make a video where I send a lot where I don't even crack the card of 9.5s to see how many 9.5s this will regrade as a PSA 10 in the CGC, because I think when it's cheap enough, it might be worth making a video just for public service, because there's all this talk about like, oh, there's the grading bias. There's the non-bias. They don't want to, if you see it in another case, they don't want to, say that theirs is less. They want your money, man. They want your money. That's
right.
My
they want
process.
Your money. Yep.
So
yep.
I think that as long as they can see the card in the case, I think there's a good chance that they would regrade it probably. So yeah, I do have those 9.5s that I'm just like those Gengars, like the ones that didn't 10. They should have 10, but they got 9.5. Those will PSA 10 for sure.
Yeah, but I've done that.
But yeah, think about it. Like, okay, 50 cards, right? You have all these dollar promos. They're not worth a thing. I'm sure you've got a couple of them there. Do your damnedest as a pre-grader to be the most harsh you've ever been harsh on a card. Like, you have to take all the bias out. Like, you have to not think of it like you want the 10. Think of it like you don't want the 10 almost. You have to look at the card like you're looking for a flaw. Not for like you want it to be perfect. You want to look for the flaw. And then if you can find some cards that you think maybe fit the bill, send those in. And if you only 2 or 3 of those hit a 10,
How are you judging your centering?
centering's the hardest thing for me with CGC, and especially with some cards like from older eras and the EX era and the Sun and Moon era, like the you know how the tag team cards have that weird
Yeah, have that little
border.
black border. Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah,
that's really difficult. So that
it
surprised me
is.
when a couple of those came back as 10s, but
Well,
it's
from what
possible.
I've heard also, CGC places way, this came from Green Shiz's, shout out Green Shiz. This came from his interview that CGC places a higher emphasis on the front of the card than the back of the card when grading centering. So if
And
your
they
front
do.
is, they
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's
that's
true.
good to
And
keep
so,
in
and
mind.
that I did actually watch that. Green Shiz is a channel I follow, and I highly recommend any of you guys who are out there go follow the Green Shiz. He's really good about like giving like CGC regrades, crossovers. He cracks, and
The only
he's
thing
one of
I'll
the few that,
say,
yeah, he crosses PSA to CGC, which is so ballsy. That is the funniest
dude,
thing.
dude needs to run himself some Cat 5 cable or something. I feel so bad for him when he jumps in on all these and like his internet's not working. I'm just like,
Oh
bro,
no.
fix your internet, bro. Come
Lucky,
on.
lucky. I haven't noticed that from him. So at least on my side, I haven't noticed that. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I do think that there is a centering thing with CGC where you want it to be good on the front and the back. There may be a tiny bit more lenient. But to be honest, I was really looking at the back as well. So I was looking at both front and back, and I had enough cards. And anyone who's been collecting for long enough,
Should
you
have
should have a
enough.
couple cards, even if they're dollar cards or 50-cent cards. If you want to give it a chance, if they look perfect, all you've got to do is pull a couple of 10s and
It's
pretty
true.
much made it. Now, if this was a year ago, I would have said that there was no chance of getting a 10 because my experience was
Yeah.
that nobody was getting them. But I think that the times have they're sort of changed a little bit. And at least at this moment, this snapshot in time, maybe that's because they're trying to capture that market share back and get people to come back to them because people have lost faith and they're trying to get that faith back. And then when everyone comes back, maybe they'll go back to their old ways. But I don't think that's the case. I don't see any reason for them to. I
I don't
feel
think
like
they need
it
to.
was a decision they made that is probably going to stick. And I would say that for the future, it's probably to stay, it's going to be that way.
Now, what do you think's going to happen first? Do you think CGC is going to hit sub 10 or 10, like 10 or under for a
Mhm.
bulk? Or do you think PSA is going to hit 20 or under?
So I personally do not see a world where PSA goes under $15 except for the submission events that they might
Right.
offer for like summer quarterly specials or something in the late future. But for the current time period, the amount of adjustments, the new ownership, the amount of profit that they've had to make and adjust to making as they've grown their business and they've reached into more of this market, it seems to me that going back to $10 a card for grading, even though that would maybe signal more business for them because it would start that flood of cards coming in, I would argue that if they could do the same amount of work or less work and get 50% more for it and just raise that price of the cost per card due to inflation, because the cost of everything is going up, and say, hey, our business costs are going up, X, Y, and Z is up, all this stuff is up. So now our new low tier is not going to be $10 anymore. It's going to be $15. And I could see that 15 not being implemented until next year, even because we
You think
just got
so?
30, right? I see two
True.
to 3 months of 30 before we see another like lottery tier or another like lower tier. And even then, what's the incentive now that the market's cooled down? Like, how many people are going to send 1,000 cards now? It's like, yeah, me and you are, because we are doing this as business. We're doing this every day.
Right.
How many casual collectors are going to be breaking down the door even at $10? So like I would argue that lowering the cost that much, because it would take another boom and another increase in demand like we had in 2020 for them to jump up the price again, for them to raise that sliding scale. I would argue that it might be more risky for them to lower it that much again ever, because then they won't be able to go back to that. So I think that maybe as a business decision, I used to say that $10 was inevitable because they needed that business to come back to them. They needed that backlog. They needed the flood to come back. but I'm starting to think that they don't need it and that they don't want it. And it's not that they don't want it, but it's just unlikely to happen again. That's all.
Do you think CGC will lower their bulk?
I do believe that the bulk price of CGC will come down to $10 for quarterly specials maybe in the future, but I
Because
can't
here's
see
like,
it going lower.
here's the problem I see with CGC. Something's got to give, because you cannot have all these graders sitting around turning around bulk in a week. And it's shit. This stuff is, there's many cases. People are turning this bulk around in a week.
My CGC orders could take 2 weeks right now. Yeah.
So what are they doing with their free time? There's no way they're grading to maximum capacity. So they're either going to lay people off and backtrack, or they got to get more business somehow. Somehow they're going to have to get more cards.
I will say, and I don't know what the actual numbers are this. I would love to see some YouTuber who's much more data oriented than me do a big deep dive on this. But I wonder the amount of people who have started sending cards now that announcement, now that it's well known that they give more 10s out. Because I might argue
PK, or not PK, but Dan Catch 'em all is tracking this. He did a deep dive into the pop report when it first came out, with the caveat, I'm going to revisit this when we've established some more 10 numbers, maybe a month or two. So Dan from Catch 'em all will be having probably soon a video drop.
And that's the type of information I love to see. And that's why I love Dan. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah, exactly.
That's because those are the questions I have about these types of things. It's like, because it would make sense that even as everyone's sending less cards in because the market's coming down, it makes less sense to send your cards in when you don't think you're going to be able to sell them for as much. Even with that, if they saw an increase in people sending, then that means they were doing something right as far as marketing is concerned, and that people are sending more to them with no intention of really caring about what the outcome is, just because it's cheap, easy, the turnaround's quick, and they have more faith in what's going to come out of it. Because, like, I will tell you, before the whole scandal with the whole Chumley thing and I started seeing all those 10s come out, there was never a world I would ever send CGC a single one of my cards. In fact, in the first 3 episodes of the podcast of Cardboard Hands that we do on this channel, I'm pretty sure I go out several times and go out of my way to say how I will never give CGC business.
I've said the same thing.
And here I am. I'm shilling the hardest I've ever shilled for a company that I don't even believe is the most honest company out there. I just think there's opportunity. I see it. And I try to take my bias out sometimes when I see that.
Yeah, my issues with CGC, my 3 main issues with CGC, one of them is not in their control.
Okay.
If we are being unbiased, the fact that the market doesn't value is not in their control.
Problem. Yeah, exactly.
The biggest thing that I wish to God they would just do is freaking do away with the 9 and 8 5s. The 9 5s and 8 5s. PSA doesn't give 9 or 8 5s. They give 7 5s, 6 5s. Their 0.5 scale starts at 8 downwards. If CGC just gave up the 9-5 and the 8-5, period, just made a decision, I could back them more. But on an actual, I think Dan did this too. He explains that it does not deserve a 20-point grading scale. There is not 20 points of error on a card. You get too much in the median and the extreme. The median is the middle. The mean, the median, and the
mode.
The mode. Thank you. There's too much variance. There's too much variance in a 20-point scale to accurately grade that. 10-point scale is what you need.
Right.
Make a decision. It's like these idiots that review movies and give them like a 4.5 out of 5. No, what is it? Is it a 4 or a 5? Like it's
which
people
one?
that don't
make your mind up.
Yeah. Like, so that holds them back a lot, I believe, in price comparing to because people don't know what to do with it. People don't know how to compare it.
And it's also subgrades confuse people and 0.5s confuse people. People like simplicity. It's the same reason. So I actually don't submit to CGC with subgrades, even though my first submission I submitted with all subgrades, because the whole narrative with CGC was we love CGC because of subgrades.
Well, they were only $1 extra at that point too.
Right, back then. Now it's a big change. So, but now, even if it wasn't extra, I still would not submit with subgrades. Because if you have a 9.5, okay, a 9.5 with no subgrades, and then a 9.5 with subgrades, depending on what those subgrades are, it will lower what people will pay versus what a non-subgraded 9.5 is. So like, it's sort of weird to me. So it's like, why would I pay more for something that'll be worth less? And then it's also going to be potentially graded harder. Now it's the tinfoil hat theory, the whole thing that they grade subgrades harder versus non-subgrades. It could have just been how the grader responded to that one message that was taken the wrong way and misconstrued, and the whole hobby ran with it. Or it could be they are grading things harder. I don't even want to roll the dice though. I don't want to take the chance. So yeah, because it costs more. So it's like, it's not a non-decision for me.
That one is kind of out of their control. The market's impression of what they're willing to pay for your brand, the name of your brand. That's not, I don't hold them accountable.
Yeah, and we can't hold them accountable. And I agree with that. I agree with you on that one. So that's not, for sure, that's not a fair.
That's not a, right. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
The other two things that hold me back from really committing to CGC personally is the treatment that I got on the accounting side of the deal. I do not like the business. I still to this day don't like the whole thing. I'm not even going to get into, but I was, and a lot of other people were treated this way too by the accounting department, where we got billed for, I got a $40,000 bill from CGC within a 2-week period.
Yeah, right. And it's like you submitted it over the course of a year or something, basically. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like, how are you just going to suddenly start like it overtime? Like, we closed this whole time, you finally opened up and now you're grading. Is that what's going on? But
right.
Yeah, no, and I understand that issue too. And I mean, and then taking like the personal thing aside from it, that is something I've never had to deal with. CGC, their accounting side. So if I had to deal with their customer service and I had some bad experiences, I probably would feel a certain kind of way. My experience with CGC's customer service was recently, though. I did have to deal with them because I was inputting cards in their system that were so new and they weren't input at all. They were the Topps Advanced series, like later series sticker chase, like die cut, like weird inserts from the old advanced series of Topps.
Yeah, another one. Yeah,
like nice Johto cards. And like weird like Sinnoh and different things that you don't see. And so they weren't in their registry. And so I sent them right after they opened up their Topps grading to CGC, but I couldn't find them in the registry to enter. So I had to call them up and make sure they'd grade them. And they said, oh, hell yeah, we're going to pass those around the office. We love that stuff. Even if it's not in the registry, just send it. We'll put it in, all this stuff. So my experience was very pleasant, and it was just, but it wasn't me coming to them with a real problem. It was coming to them with something that's kind of exciting, that's good for them.
Sure.
So it's kind of a different situation. So I can understand that too, though. So what's your third issue that you have?
I can't remember now.
I
have a third one.
It's mostly how you've been dealt with in the past, though, which I would understand.
It has, because there's a lot of things that I do like about CGC. I prefer their cases.
I love their cases.
I love their freaking cases. I know I got one somewhere.
It looks so good, especially when you get a color match.
Like you get a color match better.
On one of these beautiful like evolution cards. Where is it? This one right here. Like the
nice card with the 10 and the gold. Yeah, nice.
It's like got gold on the card,
and the blue and the blue,
silver. It's blue and blue. It's such a nice color match. You get like a color match there. There's some blue of the Articuno. It's nice. It's like I don't like the fire cards in CGC though. I really dislike how Charizards look, which is unfortunate.
I could see that.
I legitimately think Charizards look best in PSA cases.
I could see that
because of the red.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do not like how PSA cases look for water cards. I strictly don't like the red and the blue together.
I can see that too.
Blastoise. So like, I've always been the type of person to try to match the slab that I like with the card. When I had options like that. Now, if you don't have the options, then obviously that's a first world problem to have. So like, just objectively speaking, I've always enjoyed the CGC cases, especially with Pokemon cards. Now, I would never send a Magic card to save my life to CGC because the Magic cards look horrible.
Do they?
In those blue cartoony cases. It's
can
one thing when
imagine.
you got those yellow cartoony borders and it's a Pikachu, it's a cartoon character and hollow foil and colorful and pink and yellow and blue and all these colors. But when we're talking a brown magic card with some dude getting eviscerated on the card and his
Yeah,
blood is splattering, it looks
I
horrible.
do have some magic cards I really do want to send to. Like I have a foil Ugin, I have a complete foil set of Jace the Mind Sculptors. I have a Mind
No,
Sculptor
from the
foil
old
set.
ones?
Yeah, the old Jace the
Yeah.
Mind Sculptor. Like
Yeah,
I
that's the one. Those are worth sending. Those are
they
very
are.
expensive.
They are. Those are good cards. And like I have some alpha and beta cards too. They're not in the best condition, but I do have some alpha and beta cards. Like I used to play and collect magic too. So but I'm glad you said that because I was never considered which company to send with up until now. But yeah,
BGS. Only
yeah.
BGS.
Okay, all
It
right.
looks so good. The brown and the gold label and the silver label, even the paper label, and then the square blockiness
Would
of the
look good.
slabs
You're right. That's a good
with the
idea.
subgrades, it looks so clean with magic cards. And you'll even see if you go on eBay, the premiums that people pay for magic, it's all BGS. So
Oh, didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Good to
BGS
know.
is the market for magic. There PSA exists. PSA does exist, but most magic collectors who are really serious about it,
Beckett.
they
Hmm.
want BGS and they want subgrades. And they
Okay, good to
care
know.
about the subgrades. They're literal like
Of course. They're
they
nerds, of
call a
course.
quad like a quad. If it's all has the same subgrade, it's a quad. If it
Of
has
course.
a 3 9s and a 9 5, it's a quad plus. You know, it's a quad 9 plus because it's got a 9 5 or something. You
Interesting.
know,
Okay.
they have these
Interesting.
terms that they use for it. It's pretty funny, but
That's
the
pretty
Magic
funny.
graded card world is so much different from the Pokemon graded card world that it's important I think to make note of, but I don't think that equivalencies can be really made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I will
Interesting.
say that there are cards in Pokemon that will sometimes 10 or 20 or 30 times when you get that multiplier for the PSA 10. There are cards in Magic that will like 1,000 times.
Really?
Yeah, like foils from early Silver Age sets, like Urza's Destiny Legacy. Like you get
Legacy.
a reserve list foil and it hits a Beckett 9.5 plus quads, or even get out of town if it's a 10. You're talking about more of the cost than the cost of the box itself that you broke it out of. Which are
Wow.
those are $10,000+
I
boxes.
would imagine that that's just so there's so much rarer to get. Like it's so much the print runs on that stuff were so low.
Yeah, that box right there.
Yours is just a nice box.
So
Yeah.
I have two of those because that's my favorite set,
Wow.
and that is a box that I'll never sell. I'll sell Pokemon boxes before I sell that. And
Why?
that's so for me, Magic the Gathering has a historical usefulness that Pokemon, while it has the historical quality, it doesn't have a usefulness that Magic has. Like people still play Magic. Like there's a utility.
No, I
The
know that,
reason
but
people want to open that box right there, it's not just to
sure,
see the
it's to
artwork.
draft it.
They want to see what's inside to use it. They will literally then take
No,
the
I
cards
know.
and use them, maybe, you know?
But why will you what do you have a personal connection to Urza? Like is that
Oh, so you mean why do I like Urza's in
yeah,
particular? Okay.
yeah.
So I have a lot of reasons why I like Urza's. It was the first set that the reason I got into Magic was because I was at a Pokemon tournament. I was at my local card shop at a Pokemon tournament. I was sitting down at a tournament playing a game. I had my binder and you remember those old Ultra Pro, those like, they're like bulletproof material, it looked like, and they had a zipper and you could hold your deck
Yeah.
boxes and it had like the
Yeah.
counters in the middle.
Yeah.
So I had one of those under my desk or under my chair with my binder, and I was sitting there playing a match. Some kid came into the store while I was playing, and underneath the chair, they took my stuff and stole my binder and my cards, my decks. And
No.
all I had was my one deck that I was playing with in the shop that I grew up in. So it's probably someone I knew. Knowing what I know about, like,
Oh.
thievery and how things work when you're younger, I'm sure it was someone in the card shop that I regularly played with because I was a regular kid there. I went after school on Wednesdays and Fridays. I would hang out because my dad worked at a local Pennzoil that was near their auto shop. And so I would go while I was working at the auto shop, which was next door. I'd walk over to the card shop and I'd play until they closed. And then my dad would pick me up when he closed and we'd go home. And so that was my Wednesday and Friday night. So one day my collection got stolen, my binder. I was like probably 12 years old at that time, maybe 11, 12 years old. I'd been in Pokemon long enough that I had a collection. I had several decks, but I was kind of getting tired of it. Magic. I was going into middle school. Magic kind of got my eye because I wanted something that was a little more adult, little more
Sure.
gritty, less childish, and Pokemon wasn't as cool anymore. So I went up to the counter and I was like, oh man, I just had my deck still. I told him what happened. He's like, I'm so sorry. I called my dad. My dad came and picked me up. It was a whole big thing. My
Oh,
dad, because I was feeling bad, he's like, hey, you want to buy a pack? You want to get a pack of something? He's like, I'll buy you a pack of whatever you want, make you feel better. And I was like, I don't want Pokemon anymore. I'm done with it. I was so down. I didn't even want to be in the hobby anymore. The store owner
wow.
was like, well, hey, why don't you're getting old enough to try this game. Why don't you try Magic? This is a game. It's a new game. You can start from scratch. Why don't you have a booster pack of Magic instead? And so he sold my dad on a pack of Magic the Gathering instead of Pokemon because I didn't want anything to do with Pokemon. And so I opened that pack of Urza's. It was a pack of Urza's Saga.
Nice,
I opened
nice.
it and I got the single most expensive card at the time, which was it was like a
Wow.
$50 card in the box at the time. Out of a $3 pack when you're like a 12-year-old kid, that's ridiculous. It was called
Yeah,
Stroke of Genius at the time. It was a huge combo card that's not worth that much anymore, but it's a cool card. I
sure.
traded it then for like 6 more packs. And then I hit another card and I kept trading up for more packs. So I jump started my Magic collection. And I never looked back at Pokemon for like 10 years after that. So like
Interesting.
I was like, all right, I'm done with Pokemon. I had my stuff stolen, but I still love this hobby. And so I got into Magic and I started playing competitively. And I just really got so for me, Urza's Saga is the set that I have the most nostalgic collection with. Because not only is it the first pack I ever opened of Magic the Gathering, but it's like it is also the best set of all time. Like most people will say that it's better than alpha, better than beta. I would argue it's better than any of those sets because when Magic started hitting its stride, and it's a very special set for people who are my age, who are in their early 30s, who entered the hobby at the time that I did. It's a special set for those people, and so
Yeah,
for
everyone's
me,
so,
that's why
yeah, it
I'm
makes
bullish on
sense.
that.
It's interesting that Magic has that because my special sets in Magic are Alara. I really like the Alara block, Shards of Alara,
You know
Alara
what? That's
Reborn
when I
Company.
quit playing for the second time in Magic.
Really? Yeah.
That was the
Okay.
second time I quit playing.
And then the Zendikar block after that. I played really heavily on those two blocks and I read all the novels. I read all the books. So I
Oh,
really,
those were good. Those
they
were
were, they
good.
were really
The
good
books were
books.
better in that time than they ever have been since
Yep.
and
They were
ever
good
before.
stories. They were
Yeah, the story
great
was very
stories.
good.
That's what got, because if you read the flavor text on all the
The
cards, it
Gatewatch and the whole
yes.
Gatewatch, like the
Yep.
Zendikar and like the Battle of the Oathwatch and all that stuff. It is
Yeah.
juicy. It
It's
is
good storytelling.
juicy as
It
far as
is.
like yeah,
Like
definitely.
anyone out there, like you guys like Game of Thrones or anything like that, go pick up some Magic the Gathering books and start reading them because they are fantastic. They
From
would
that
make you
era, from the
from that era. Yes.
Zendikar, that era, because there
Yes.
are time periods in Magic the Gathering, and this is including the old time periods where it was
Yeah,
just
because I
more high fantasy, normal.
right, the lore because before that it was Lorwyn, Morningtide, Shadowborn. I went back and read those books. They
And
were
this is
okay.
like,
They were okay. Yeah, they were
yeah,
okay. It was a lot like The Hobbit, read like a little bit like a little bit
yeah,
more
it's
like
fancy. It's very
yeah,
storybooky, and
right,
yeah.
very yeah. So but yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know. Pokemon has a similar thing. Everybody has that that time they entered into the hobby. Magic obviously has a little bit more of it because it's been a longer running game and it will always be a longer running game. But it's interesting how everybody connects. And it makes me wonder, trying to tie it back to Pokemon. Somebody else brought this up on another podcast, and it's a good point. Actually, no, it was you. It was talking with you. Was it you? Yeah, it was you in
Maybe.
Retro. Yeah. Who when you guys brought up the point of I wonder if this will reach a historical significance. And if people jumping in, like the kids that are coming in now and that are seeing Sword and Shield and soon to be Violet and Scarlet, whatever, these sets are when people what they remember because this is what they jumped in at.
Mhm.
Will they want to go back and collect base? Will they want to go back and collect Neo? Like the Pokemon sets that's not like we have our memory of the old sets because we've been in it up to this point more or less. Some have been in, some have been out sometimes, but um you have to develop I think it really comes down to you have to get people to develop a connection to the cards in some way. I have my best experience. I have the stuff I desire to acquire, the stuff I desire to acquire is stuff that I can see in my mind's eye in some way. So like, great example. I just saw for the first time that Evolutions TV show. I now see Leon in a whole different way than I did before.
He's so cool in that show.
He's so cool.
He's so not cool in the video game, in the Sword and Shield
Right.
video game, or even in the cards. He looks like a
Right.
nerd with his cape, but he's so badass. Leon
Right.
is so cool. Yeah.
And now like Eternatus, a Pokemon I hated. I see him in an animation. Oh my God, Eternatus is freaking awesome now.
Yeah.
Like
it matters. The connection you have to it really does matter.
It does matter. And I think that I wish Pokemon would do more in promoting that. They need to recapture the nostalgia somehow. I don't know what that looks like, but that's what they need to do. Whether it's better movies, make another big
It was Pokemon
movie.
Go, man. That was the last thing that really did capture that. Because I would say 2020 did not capture what you're saying.
No, it didn't.
It was only about stonking and money. It had nothing to do with the organic, like,
there's
love
nothing,
or the engagement. It was just more engagement based on stonking, right? Like
Pokemon the company did nothing for the 25th anniversary to bring in new people.
Right. Whereas it was just everything else, all of what the influencers did, all of what the Logan, I don't want to say Logan Paul did it, because I have never been one to say that I don't think Logan Paul had as much of an effect on the hobby.
No.
I personally, it was already going to moon. The reason Logan Paul got in was because it was on its way there.
I agree.
He just got on. That's all.
I agree.
And that because I was riding that rocket. So that's how I know that.
Yeah, that's funny. I only got back into it because like I moved and I pulled my stuff out because I happened to move right during the whole boom. And
so
because
that's also
I moved,
why I kind of got into it too. Funny you say that, is because I was moving right before the pandemic as Hidden Fates was coming out. I was playing a little Pokemon Go still, because in 2019 I was still playing Pokemon Go, raiding,
so was I,
and all that stuff.
Yep.
Pre-pandemic, and so I moved to a new house and I found my binder as I was moving. And at that same time, Hidden Fates came out, and I saw Leonhardt and Pokerev opening Hidden Fates and doing all this like hunting for the Charizard. And so that sparked my girlfriend and I's interest back into the hobby in 2019. So It's similar to you. It was sparked by me moving, finding my collection, and then also interacting with it via influencers. But what you're saying is true. Pokemon didn't do a damn thing.
They didn't do a damn thing.
I feel like they could have done more, and they haven't. But going back to that, the last big thing that I would say did happen that Pokemon did was Pokemon Go. And that was 2016. So
recent news. I don't have heard no one else talk about this. Breaking news. Okay. So it was announced that Pokemon leagues are now, or what's today's date? I think it was as of the 7th. I might be wrong on the date. If it's not now, it's within a week. Are allowed to open up playtimes again on all official leagues.
So they weren't allowed to actually even have official playtimes before?
No, because of the corona still, but they are lifting that. They
have to have been one of the last companies to start lifting.
They are.
Because most others have been already lifted.
They have been extremely cautious about it, because I know people like, I know Mike Martin, who just went up and head judged, did deck checks at Secaucus regionals, and he was talking to me about it when I was picking up my Astral pre-release stuff about, and they had to cancel the Florida regionals, which was not too long ago, because Florida, the state, has taken a very Republican stance about.
They're much less hands-on stance than they want. Got it. Okay.
Pokemon canceled their event there out of abundance of caution. I agree, but I'm not here to pass judgment over who, like, it's their company. They're allowed
they can make the decision they want. It is just unfortunate that so many people decided. Yeah.
But interestingly, they are lifting the restrictions now. There is no, because I I can't wait to start my leagues back up. So I was right on that. But I don't have any
live to come out. That's what we need.
Yeah, I agree. That would be sick. I can't wait for the freaking thing to get out of beta. But so I can't, because I don't have any play materials. I don't have any promotional materials. I got nothing, because I have not had my league active since like 2010. I don't know. Right. So I was like, hey, I'm going to add play times. What do I do with this? And they're like, oh, well, we're not we're not opening up orders for league material kits yet.
Hmm.
But you can add play times and you can have people come back to the store.
Well,
And
that's
I'm
a
thinking
start. That's a start.
that's a
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
because they need to do that because they're integrating it with Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah,
So
they do.
Pokemon
Hell yeah, they're gonna do
Go,
the PvP tournaments. Yeah.
yes, and every Pokemon League is going to be a Poke Go stop too.
Right. Right.
You
And
can
that's
spin
actually
your.
good. That's a good
It is a
thing.
good idea. It is a good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah. They should
So
have done that a long time ago, but that's really cool that they're finally implementing that. Yeah.
so this is one of the things that I think is going to help grow the hobby again is the fact that people can go to Pokemon League for the
Dude,
love of God.
people who have gotten into this hobby, and I've said this many times, in the last 2 years, have gotten into a hobby where they cannot interact with the most important part about the
I
hobby.
know. It's
Is
ridiculous.
interacting in person and trading and actually interacting with the community. Like literally everyone who got into it has never, they don't have trade binders.
They don't know. They don't
How
have
many
it. Yeah.
people in this damn hobby who are watching this video have trade? If you have a trade binder in the comments down below, please put in hashtag trade binder.
Trade binder.
Because I'll know you're a real one who's been around since before 2019. Because seriously, if you have been in this hobby before, then you have a bunch of cards that you're willing to trade. But if you haven't, then you probably only have them in top loaders because they've never left your desk or never left your house, or they've never left your side since you got back into the hobby.
So I never had a binder, but I used to bring like these boxes.
Oh, so you had a box. So you fair enough.
I had a box.
Right.
And
well,
it was
you had
always
more than what was in a binder in that box, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it was funny because it was never the most valuable cards because there was never such a thing. It was the most playable cards.
Yes. And
it
you
was
know
like,
what I will say? You know what I've been falling back on most recently, Joe, that hasn't happened in probably the last year or two? I've sold only stonky cards, only cards that people are literally collector boying and throwing in their binder, sending to PSA, they're trying to make a return on. Now, you know, the only thing that sells on my TCG player
is trainers from the
Arceus V's, Arceus V, any sort of Arceus V or V Star, any sort of like Palkia V or Palkia Origin Form Palkia V.
Yeah, they're like $25 right now, aren't they?
They're so expensive. Palkia is so playable too. And so
it is.
Any playable card are the only things that are selling for me right now. And they're selling like hotcakes. So, and that wasn't the case for so like times are shifting. And I've thought about this a lot. And even though I'm sitting here and I'm saying, oh, things are bearish and people, it's not as good as it was before. I do think that there's a certain subset of the hobby that is here no matter what. They're going to be here through the thick and thin. Yeah, well, while mine and your 401ks have probably taken a 20% hit in the last 3 months.
Yeah,
they don't have 401ks. Most of the people in this hobby, unfortunately, they're not contributing to a 401k. Even though people on all of these channels are saying, always contribute to a 401k, never buy Pokemon cards, right? We have to do the obligatory, not financial advice. But most people, I would say, are casual collectors who are spending the little bit of money they have, just buying a couple packs, interacting with the hobby because they want to escape their real life and just enjoy something they love. They don't need that card that they pull to be worth $1 million. They don't need it to be worth, they don't care if it's worth 5 cents. They just want to get in at a good price, have a good time, enjoy the hobby they love, and then kind of enjoy the rest of their day. And so I do think that sometimes us as financial channels, I'm speaking more so about myself, I maybe get a little more wrapped up in this, and it maybe comes across as I'm a little bit more like, bear market than I really should be. But that's only because like, this is what we do day in and day out. I do still think there's a lot of strength in the hobby. I see a lot of the casuals very engaged still. I had a guy just a couple of days ago come into my stream. He said he just got back into the hobby with Astral Radiance.
That's cool.
Said, welcome to the freaking hobby, man, because this is a great time. It is a great time to be a part of it. And so like I would say that someone who is getting in the hobby right now, it is a fantastic time to get in, because you don't have to deal with all of that like that bullshit that was happening in the last 2 years where you're like, oh, if I want something I have to pay 2 times retail for it.
That's how I restarted my YouTube channel when all that bullshit was happening. My original were vlogs of me trying to drive on a Saturday. I would go to 2 Targets, 2 Walmarts, Barnes and Noble, freaking GameStops.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just trying to find something to open.
Just to get something, just because you wanted to open it, not because you're trying to, you just wanted to have some fun. You're stuck inside. You wanted to enjoy this thing you love. Yeah.
It was like me just venting, like, I can't believe I just wasted an entire Saturday and got a booster pack. Like, this is
we had fun with that kind of stuff, like hunting, but yeah.
Well, it was never a thing before. It was like, I
Right.
was like, okay, I want to collect this again. And when I did this before, I could go into a Target on any day and pick up 10 packs of cards if I wanted to, and it was no big deal.
Yeah, and so I do think that it's going back to normal in a good way, and I think in a good way because now that all these people who did get in the hobby, the people who wanted out or who like maybe got burned or who got bad investments and kind of had to sell before they wanted to and took losses, those people probably aren't coming back.
Good.
Unfortunately, those people who got burned, it's going to take a lot to get those people back. But honestly, I don't know if those people were the right people to be in the hobby to begin with. The people who are now still here, I would argue, I would say there are more people now still here than there were before. Maybe not as much as there were who are just speculating on it, but still more people engaged. I
Yeah,
don't think those people are going to leave.
I don't either.
I think they love it.
I want more organic growth. Like I
And
want
yes,
yes, organic growth for this hobby. I would love the amount of people to be collecting listen, I want there to be 10,000 people that want a $10,000 card,
yes,
but I want them to want it because they want it.
yes,
Like I want them to want it because it's rare. There's
yes.
not a lot of them out there. And that's gonna drive the price of all of our older stuff up when people actually want it. But people want it because, oh shit, that's cool. I gotta have that.
It's
Like
FOMO. They want it
it's
because they think it's 10,000 now and it's gonna be 15,000 later, and they can sell it and make more.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
yeah, and that's
those are
not organic. And
that's
and
not
that's where
organic.
I totally agree with you. And I think we're seeing more of that now, especially since the stonkers left. Like they'll be back. They're still there. I personally think that a lot of the people who wanted to sell at the high and didn't sell at the high, they're still here sitting on product waiting for it to kind of go back up because a lot of the narrative is like, oh, the market's down now, but just give it a little more time after the reprints settle, then you can get out. I think there's still people who want to get out who haven't yet. But I would
Mm,
still argue that there are a lot of people who have no intention of getting out, who never intended on getting out, who are still involved, who weren't involved before, that there's more engagement now than ever. That doesn't mean that we're not going through a bearish market, though, because I for sure will still be out here saying, as long as I see it, that there's still some weakness in the market in some sectors. But
yeah, I think there's definitely still some weakness, but
but
I
I see
I
good things though too, though.
I
To
see
kind
a
of
lot of good things too, weekly on a
yeah,
weekly
bring it
basis.
back to like more positive note because honestly,
Yeah,
I think both of us have a very positive look at the hobby. Like
yeah, I do. You know what it is like. Whatnot has gotten me to be very positive about the hobby because everyone that comes in is enthusiastic. They love the cards. They want the cards. They want to open the cards, and it gets me excited. It gets me happy about it too. So, like, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
With that, I do kind of have to get. I haven't eaten dinner yet,
Oh, good.
and
Well, yeah, and I think we touched on all three of our topics too, though. So that's actually perfect timing. So
cool,
yeah,
cool,
yeah. Joe, I do want to say everyone who
dude. It's
hasn't
been fun.
followed EchoBase Collectables, Joe up there, I'm gonna put a link down in the description for his channel. If you're not already following him, you better be fucking following him. I swear. Sorry, excuse my French, but I'm gonna put a link down below. Like and subscribe there, and then like and subscribe to this channel. I do think we're going to be having more of these types of market talks. Just like yesterday in our video, we said we want to be more candid, have more of these types of conversations. So I think it's fun to have these
It
kinds
is
of
fun.
talks. And I really appreciate you coming on here today, Joe.
No,
And
thank you
doing this.
so much for having me, man. It was a blast. It was great. It's probably one of the best times I've had this couple weeks so far. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and Joe reached out to me, so I'm really glad that he did because this has been one of my favorite talks I've had in a long time as well. So, well, thanks
Thanks,
again,
man.
guys. And if you haven't already, like and sub, and thanks again. We'll see you on the
Like and
next one.
sub.